Rapper, reporting for duty. What's up, chicken heads? I got some feathers to be plucking. A 3-piece here for KFC, and soon they'll kick the bucket. No palace in Chicago and no crib up in Nantucket. So I don't see why KFC is doing all this clucking. You got lap, but still you think you're Mario and Drake. You won't win the race just cause your pace is slow and steady. I'm not a battle rapper and this isn't my spaghetti. Free falling on the charts, now I'm really sounding petty. Stuck your neck out when you wish that you had been still. Doughy ass body, boy, you look like you got bread filled. Always number 2, so I had to leave him lead filled. Cut him out so bad it might remind him of that pen deal. Shit don't need a done him, now you're looking like some fresh milk. You don't exercise, but your career is on that treadmill. Don't get shit confused, yeah, don't get it misconstrued. Frank the Tank is now bigger and skinnier than you, man. Nate's more likable, Dave's more bright than you. Your guest jumped to PMT, is that surprising you? Check their bank accounts like you can compare. I don't know what's more diluted, Kevin, you or your shares. Your career's the trajectory of boomerang kicks. With the combine, couldn't make it through the rat race. Yeah, dude's in last place with his stupid ass face. Should be on radio with your boomer ass taste. The GM of comedy is actually a clown. Just like GM almost got the factory shut down. Nothing corny as some bloggers traded words in the booth, but even KFC knows that part has a kernel of truth. But have another meltdown and tell us you were kidding. Rewrite the history and spin it how you're winning. Go get caught up in the hype, screaming all up in the mic. Your show's a hockey game, bro. They only watch it for the fights. Left out your divorce, that's not the ammo that I needed. Cause in reality, it's all the fans that's getting cheated. You step to the throne, try messing with Rome. Man, fuck KFC, he should have left it alone. They talk your shit, bro.
KFC don't wanna see me. Only chickens we eat is that the real KFC. Get 'em wrong. Get 'em wrong. Get 'em wrong. Get 'em wrong. Fuck around with people with these nuts. You got the hottest part of podcast. You get a line to get your ass stepped up. Get 'em wrong.
Gearheads, it is Sunday. It is 10 a.m. and you most likely are waking and baking. And now you're here. A game of pin the tail on the funny that never ends. Go to blindmike.net for everything Blind Mike. Also, make sure you get a YouTube membership because there is a lot of good stuff you get as a member here on the YouTube. And turn on your gifted subs by clicking the link in the chat. Now it's time for your host, a man who circles Skankfest week on his calendar decades in advance. The Judge Wapner of comedy commentary.
Blind Mike Geary!
I can't even, I'm not even in the frame of mind to reference the greatest song ever written by Roan. I can't mention the stellar writing in that intro by DJ Electrify because I'm just absorbed by one thought. David Collins, is that the rudest you've ever been treated in your broadcasting career, what Craig just did to you?
Well, I'd say, there certainly was a lack of communication. It's nothing that you would do to Tom Myers, I imagine, but that's okay. I wouldn't either.
What did I do?
This is, just as a human being, this is a crazy way to behave.
What happened?
What do you mean? What I knew, David. Here's the thing. He didn't give this a second thought. I knew it the second he started talking. He didn't give us a thought. Us waiting at our computers. So, take it behind the scenes for a moment, folks.
Yeah, I'm not even near Jerry. I'm here by myself too. So it's even.
That's the thing. This is we got David on a Jerry-less day. So this week, I message David Collins and say, how about 12:30 on Friday? David says 12:30 is great. I said to Craig, well, first I'm doing the Kirk Minahan show in the morning. Sometimes it'll go a little longer. So I said to Craig on Tuesday, how's Friday at 12:30 work? He says 12:30 works great.
Whoa.
I do also feel like our back and forth was slightly reframed there. I did give a little pushback.
Well, hold on, David. I think you'll agree with me by the time we get to the end of this. Really, all I'm focused on is one thing. I say if it goes later than 12:30, I'll let you know. But 12:30 should be good. I say again when we record on Wednesday, 12:30 Friday, same deal. If the show goes late, then we'll address that when we get to it. But 12:30 is the time. I text him at 11:51 and say good for 12:30. I get no response. And me and David are each sitting at our computers at 12:30. David reaches out to me and says, "Are we running late today?" Because David, much like me, is probably a guy, 12:31, you're late. Really 12:30 and 30 seconds, you're late.
And in my experience with this show, you two are both at 15 minutes prior to the show saying, here's the link, take your time. We're all set whenever.
That's exactly right. That's the Blind Mike Project policy, usually. At 12:34, only after, by the way, there's a chance I don't text Craig and we just wait here for 45 minutes.
Mhm.
But I text Craig and say, we good. He says at 12:34, oh, just left the grocery store. I'll be another 15 minutes.
Uh-huh. Now,
that's crazy. Listen, this is not, I understand this is not your job. I'm not saying you have to be here on time. I'm saying human to human. This is a crazy way of behaving.
Well, let the boss have you staying late today?
Let me step in here.
Go ahead.
Well, typically, we record at 1, which is blanket, usually 1.
Right.
Now, we were talking about recording today, and to my knowledge, there was no set time. It was sometime.
It was 12:30.
This in text. I'm looking at our text right now. There is no.
We didn't tell. We spoke.
Now that could be true and all.
It's true twice. What did I lie just now when I said we talked on Tuesday and Wednesday and said 12:30?
This would be an open and shut case in court. There's no proof.
I mean, but are you saying that I'm lying?
No, but
Okay.
I definitely don't remember that.
So you would have just let me and David sit here but guys, good news. Craig has fudgicles in the freezer now. At least he got to go to the grocery store.
I do have kids.
Thank God. Your family left you. This you went to get potato chips and ice cream.
So I'm in the grocery store during this text where you said we good for 12:30. So I didn't see it until I got to my car.
Well, just know, guys, late in the show, if David has a hard out today, if David has to leave and you're thinking, I wish David was here, just know that Craig got a few Twix bars for himself. So that should give you some solace.
I must say, I think that's kind of in reverse, Craig. You should take the opportunity when you're outside of the car to use your phone, not wait until you're back in the car.
That's a good point, David.
I sat down. I got the groceries in my car. I sat down. I looked at my phone. I saw we good for 12:30 and went, whoops, because I saw the time.
So, but in your mind, I'm just being crazy. Like I'm saying a time that I've never mentioned in my life.
You could have. I usually just assume 1. So that's probably where my brain was at.
Here's the real crazy part that I couldn't believe. And I think David picked up on this. Craig gets on, and the first thing he says, he goes, we got these Peet Guercio clips today.
I did say that.
And David, I can tell, holding down the same rage that I was, goes, I'm glad to see you're doing okay, Craig.
So until we just started, I didn't understand why he said that.
I didn't tell David the horrible excuse you had of going to the grocery store. David certainly thought that they found a lump on your balls or something.
Wait, hold on, where's my... I'll find my receipt and I'll get you the exact time of checkout.
Well, and you have children, too. An emergency could be around the corner at any moment.
Don't defend him, David.
We are going away for the weekend, me and my kids.
What the hell do you need groceries for, then?
Because I have to stock up on the...
It's a great question.
I have a house in the White Mountains. I have to go there. There's no groceries or snacks for kids.
Boy, that Jerry Callahan pays pretty well.
So I had to go.
House in the White Mountains. My God.
You want to go sometime?
I'm okay.
Recording
I'll meet you at 12:30 tomorrow.
Go in the lake. It'll be fun.
Well, that'd be nice.
Well, yeah. It's, again, just a matter of the arrogance.
I can
the arrogance to mention Peet Guercio to me when we come in here.
Having laid it all out, I understand what you're talking about.
So, David, I'm sorry. On behalf of the Blind Mike Project family, we don't usually behave like that. I apologize.
Well, it's no problem. Apology accepted.
Thank you, David.
I'm sorry, David. I don't do that often, do I?
Never, and that's what took me by such surprise.
So you have to understand that was just definitely a genuine mistake.
Well, fine, but
Common ground.
A little remorse would be nice.
Well, I have it now. I didn't know what was happening at first.
Craig's whistling as he's getting the clips ready. Oh, and then that's the other angle that made it funny is Craig's taking his sweet time as we get started. So I just make conversation with David. Craig gets up and leaves. And he comes back and he goes, "Oh, well, you two were chatting, so I wanted to give you some time."
I had to grab a cable. It was right there. I could hear you still.
David, you guys run a much tighter ship, I assume, at the David Collins.
Well, everything's central, and sometimes a guest has an emergency, and they ask, "Can we push things back?" And we try to work with that. But from our perspective, we've never had to delay anything for that reason. Maybe 5 minutes for a technical error.
Sure.
Chris Scopo comes to mind. That was a bit of a trouble start, but it's no real issue at the end of the day.
Good.
But like I had to mention so many times on my previous episode of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, I don't hold a grudge.
Excellent. I like to hear that. You're pro, David. And I watched the recent David Collins 30-minute half-hour show with Austin Engels and Dan McCullough. I enjoyed it very much. But I do know from that episode that you deal with your share of behind-the-scenes mishaps, So you know what
certainly, yeah. It's a great example, and you're working with people, and people are people.
Yes, it's exactly right.
The emphasis on people there made it sound like he didn't think I was a human there. Did you hear that?
Well, I kind of agree with his sentiment, yes. And David Collins' 30-minute half-hour reality show is in full swing, yes?
100%. We're really looking forward to the next episode. We have a lot of ideas. Of course, you can see that second episode certainly flowed differently than the first, and that's the goal there. We want the themes to be represented in different ways. And in this one, we're talking a lot about hanging out before and after shows. We're talking about people leaving and venues closing, but still going all around the state to do that stand-up comedy.
And if people just follow you on YouTube at David Collins Show, they'll be able to find this, correct?
Right.
Yes. So I want to, get into topics here because Craig's given us about a 4-minute window that we have with David. So we got to jump in here.
And in the end, I was here 15 minutes late. In the end.
Yeah.
Right. So you may,
20.
Honest mistake.
20.
No,
it would seem trivial to go back and forth, but I could go look at when the StreamYard link was sent to me.
Thank you, David. David's a good mediator.
He really is.
Yes. So, I want to get right into topics, but I do want to say, make sure you follow David everywhere. Follow David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show on YouTube and all other platforms.
And if you enjoy just an audio, it is primarily an audio format, that 30-minute half-hour show. So even on Spotify or wherever you listen is also a great way to listen.
Absolutely. And DC 30-minute half-hour on Instagram?
Half-hour show.
30-minute half-hour show on Instagram. So go follow David. Follow David everywhere and tell him you're a gearhead. Tell him Blind Mike sent you. Let him know, I see these I hear the emails that he gets on this program. I want more gearhead representation there.
A lot of hack ride representation on those emails. I'll say
I've
that
noticed
much.
that. The hack riders come out in full force.
I was going to say, it's probably a lot of hack ride.
That was a question. One of the guests after the show, he said, "Are those just hack ride making new emails to send to the show?" And I said, "Hey, that's a good question. I never asked myself that."
I don't know. He is not. If he's doing that, he has not told me. But
they also appear to be active in other live chats, though. So unless he's really that consistent, it would be tough to do that.
Certainly, yes. No, I think Hack Ride's got his people out there. The Hack Riders exist.
Yes, they do.
Also, if you guys wouldn't mind going to blindmike.net, supporting this show, like, comment, share, subscribe on YouTube, tap the notification bell. All that stuff helps get more eyeballs on the program. It gets
Is blindmike.net back up?
Blindmike.net has always been up. I don't know what issues you were having, David, but I do.
Well, it was on. I had experienced it in December through January. You were having some issues, so I'm not sure. Maybe it was just on my end, but I was keeping tabs. I thought it was something you would know about.
It was the www.blindmike.net. There was a lot of W's I just said there.
How many W's was that? Yeah.
Yeah, like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But there was the issue with the link with the WWs and without one. The ones without works.
Yes. You can tell Craig's a real pro with the WWs and without.
No, it was with the www.
He's really zeroed in on the problem. But yeah, go to blindmike.net. That's where all our links are. And Subscribe if you want. Oh, by the way, so we're not live right now on YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube, but you could have had early access if you were a YouTube or Patreon member. So get early access to a bunch of our stuff as well as bonus content if you are on Patreon or YouTube. Become a gearhead for as little as $5 a month. It's nothing. You won't even miss it.
You will not.
All right. So, David, you have something you want to promote. So I think we should start with clips from the Real Ass podcast, where Joe Matarese gets mentioned. You know, we're interested in Joe Matarese here. By the way, did you hear about my run-in with Joe Matarese?
No.
I won't go into it in too much detail because I explained it all on Who Are These Socials last night.
Right, I have some notes here. You've been fighting with Joe Matarese.
Yes. Oh, I made your notes. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, we have kind of a beef with Joe Matarese now. It's part of the banter section, so it's the most popular part of WATS. Carl showed me some of the numbers, and he said the views plummet post banter. People show up for the banter, and then they get the hell out of there. So luckily, we squeezed it in while people were still watching. But yeah, in the banter portion of the show, we talk about Joe Matarese's live stream, where it was basically me and him going back and forth, and like two other people in the chat. It was crazy. And then he just deleted it. So there's no evidence of it or anything.
Where is he going live?
Instagram.
I've caught him live on YouTube many times, and you can find me in that chat, but I've never caught him on Instagram. That's great. I'll have to keep an eye out.
Well, yeah, you were going back and forth with Joe for a little while, David.
I think we're becoming good friends, although it is safe to say he's kind of misled me. He's assured me he will be continuing his podcast weekly at times, and then an episode doesn't come out for 4 or 5 weeks. So it is a little confusing, you know, but we even texted each other back and forth, and he's very sweet.
Yeah. Well, the big news is that he's quitting podcasting and pursuing acting now. That was basically the gist of what he was talking about on this live stream.
He just wants to be Sebastian Maniscalco in
right.
Richmond.
I guess. But I invited him on, and he said his issue with the show was that I'm too negative. I don't talk about enough of the good things that he does.
Does he not hear we talked about how good of a person he seemed. We played a stand-up clip where we said this was actually pretty funny.
Yeah, and I was being nice, by the way. So, if you want to call me anything, Joe, it's a liar because I said you were an okay guy.
To be fair, that was before we really took the deep dive into his podcast.
Yeah,
you piece of shit.
Yeah, so I go into further detail in it on Who Are These Socials. So go check that out right now, or after you listen to this show. But another person talking about Joe Matarese is my friend Louis J. Gomez on a recent episode of the Real Ass podcast that someone sent to me for reasons we'll get into in a moment. But let's take a look at that.
Joe Matarese thinks that I hate him. Have I ever said I hated Joe Matarese, Shannon? I don't hate Joe Matarese.
You've been harsh on Skanks. You guys have been harsh on Skanks a little bit.
I've said I hate Joe Matarese.
Not explicitly, but you guys have been a little harsh towards him on Skanks.
I defend my boy Lewis here and say that, can you imagine what a sad life you lead if your whole existence is like, this guy hates me, just trying to explain why people hate you so much? It's like, these people don't hate you, Joe. No one hates you. No one thinks about you. Lewis doesn't think about you. Even someone as small as me, I don't think about you, Joe. I don't hate you. Now I think you're a loser. Before, I just thought you sucked at podcasting. But now I think you're kind of a bad guy.
Well, you'd think that would be more his perspective. You know, he's an established person. You know, no offense to you or Louis J. Gomez, but you might say tier-wise, these are lower people than him. He shouldn't pay too much mind.
Sure, absolutely. I would say Lewis, not anymore.
Definitely.
Yeah, at a time, he should have thought that way. Definitely, yeah. Joe's been around for fucking ever in comedy, but he doesn't think of it that way, David. I think because he knows a lot of the criticism is true at the end of the day. Like, that's the worst part, is that part of this live stream that I was watching was him saying, like, I just don't think I'm good at podcasts. And yet he started 40 different podcasts. So it's like, for a while he did think he was good, but I think deep down he knew he wasn't, you know?
Well, he is great at interacting with his audience, I'll say that much.
That's true.
I didn't have that experience with him so much.
Oh, I got a comment.
Well, here's what's interesting though, Craig. I mentioned this to Carl too, but you remember how someone brought up my name to him?
Mhm.
I can't remember who. Ray DeVito, maybe?
Yep.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it was Ray DeVito. He was being like an absolute cunt to him.
Yeah, so someone brought up my name, and Matarese goes, I got no idea who that is. Perfectly reasonable if he doesn't know me. Yet when I was in his chat, I go, hey, Joe. I forget the first thing I asked him. But it was something about quitting his podcast. And he goes, my name on Instagram is Blind Mike Geary. He goes, oh, you're the guy who does a whole show. Your whole show's about me. No.
How did he know?
Wrong, Joe.
Is it possible that he thought you were Louis J. Gomez's Blind Mike?
That would be odd if he thought Blind Mike from Gas Digital was doing a whole show about Joe Matarese. But yeah, based on his reaction to Louis, that might make more sense.
This clip's just labeled honesty.
I mean, well, this is why I like Louis. Like he says, yeah, I don't get why Joe Matarese hates me, but he can't help but be bluntly honest with him.
I actually never said he sucks at stand-up. I said he's a good stand-up. He's a very professional stand-up. He's been doing it a long time. What I said was on this show, Chris Scopo was on this show. And then he told me that
Speaking of black butts.
He told me he's the co-host of Joe Matarese's podcast.
Okay.
So then I said to him, I was like, don't do that. That's like a terrible career move. Which it is. And I also said Joe Matarese would tell you that. Joe Matarese would tell you, like, hey, dude, if you're attaching your horse to this cart, it's not necessarily a good career move. I'm not even saying don't do it. I'm just saying, like, you know.
Right. I wish I had somebody that was that honest with me years ago.
Yeah. But it's not a good career move. It's really not. Like, you know, like it's.
But is he? I don't know him well enough. Is he the type that would say, like, "Hey, get out while you can, buddy. I get it if you don't want to do this with me." I don't know if he has that.
I don't think he has the self-awareness.
Yeah, see, that I think Louis realized it there, where I would have thought the same thing too. I would have thought, oh, Joe Matarese can kind of joke around at this point. He's been through the Redbar ringer and had porcelain documentaries made about him. I think he understands at this point the criticism of him. But no, he doesn't have that self-awareness. I used to think that, and it seems like he doesn't. And that's why I respect Louis, is like, he'll shit on people the way he just kind of made fun of Joe Matarese, but he's also honest about his own career and has a certain amount of self-awareness and is like leaps and bounds ahead of Joe Matarese in his career. That's what's crazy, is I think Joe looks at someone like Louis and thinks that he's owed something or that Louis should look up to him in some way, when that's just not the case anymore, Joe. You don't do anything. You're kind of a loser at this point.
I think Joe should get angry. He sounds more like Joe Satarese.
Oh God, I laughed at that.
I like that, David. Well, it's funny you say that, David. In the Instagram live chat I was in with him, he goes, "You know, I'd like to get off my meds and really let you guys have it." And I was like, "Yeah, anytime. Come on the podcast." And then he pretended he didn't see that.
So he was then Joe Matarese.
Yes.
With a D.
Yeah, leave it to David, huh?
Here comes some shout outs.
Okay, good.
To skim through this, but it says on the Blind Mike project, the title says
Blind Mike.
It says not our Blind Mike.
Straight Blind Mike.
Joe Matarese.
Hey, finally, a little respect.
That's just not right.
Finally, people are realizing how straight I am.
One in the chat if you think he's gay.
Guys, this is ridiculous. My name has been sullied by this by this queer. he's tarnished my good name. No, I like gay blind Mike as well. But yes, that is very common that people confuse me with gay blind Mike now. So I'm glad Louis made that disclaimer.
Yeah, it will never happen again now.
No, he's scrubbed it clean.
Gomez and WATP. I don't know what that is.
Who are these podcasts?
Oh.
You remember Who Are These Podcasts? And I remember we kidnapped the host's girlfriend.
Yes,
and
I
I
do.
pulled a gun.
Okay, hold on one second. Did you know this, Craig?
No.
Okay, so this is very funny. Lewis is about to explain the one interaction they had with Carl.
That's real.
Well, we'll get into how real it is. But the first time I ever heard of Who Are These Podcasts was when they reviewed Come Town. So I think it was not that long after. I think it was maybe around the same time. I don't remember exactly. But Lewis said, like, oh, he should review Real Ass Podcast. I think that would be funny. And then Carl never did it. So Lewis had to resort to some attention-seeking tactics to try and get Real Ass Podcast featured on WATP. So he's going to explain that. And by the way, Lewis, if I can correct you, it's his wife that you kidnapped and raped. So let him explain. But just for context, this is the man's wife.
Gone on her, and we all gang raped her in the bathroom.
Yes, didn't we have to cut that out or something?
No, we had to remove the episode when Shane was dealing with SNL. Because Shane was on the episode, we had to remove the episode altogether. But I think it's since then has been put back up. Make sure that episode's back up. That was a great classic. Us gang raping Carl from Who Are These Podcasts girlfriend because he wouldn't talk shit about us.
It's his wife.
We talk shit about everybody. And I was like, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You're not going to trash my podcast, Carl."
Is it his wife at the time?
I think so. Yeah, I don't know how long they've been married, but I assume so. But
That is an edgy bit.
It's yeah. In hindsight, the explanation of it doesn't sound great, but it is very funny to me. Like, good for Carl. Carl was talked about in an episode that Shane Gillis needed scrubbed from the internet so he didn't get further canceled. That's a feather in his cap, right? That's a badge of honor.
Next, I have when I first started listening to this, a pit in my stomach began. At the beginning.
Oh, why? Oh, yes, me too. Actually, this is. I mean, it's why I know, like, if something like Redbar ever got a hold of our show, I would just agree with them. I'd be a guest and be like, "No, you're right." Like,
Yeah.
Like when I hear my voice out of context, there's nothing that makes me cringe more.
Correct.
But Zach has a couple pretty good lines here.
Yes, he does.
You think there's a reason?
we
Shut up! Shut up!
Watch Matarese.
Why do you sound like that?
I don't know what they're playing it through, but you don't ever sound like that far away from the microphone.
Oh God, does it make me cringe to hear myself?
How nice of them. They paused the video and say, go watch it on their channel.
That's the thing, and I'm in the gayest position possible.
Is that Hack Ride's vape of the day?
Yeah, I don't even do that anymore.
All right. You think there's a reason?
Are we watching
Boston?
Blind Mike watch Joe Matarese?
Yeah.
And people are watching us do this.
It's become a fucking Russian doll. Of
Where
just
are?
content.
What is happening?
Oh, this is like hack inception.
What is?
Somewhere there's a top spinning and no one laughing.
I actually thank God for Zach Amico, even though he's having a little fun with us there. But I was just like, if they watch any more of this, I'm going to kill myself.
I'm glad you felt the same way because I'm watching and then I just see us on the top left of the screen and I panicked.
Me this show out of context makes no sense. Like, there's nothing worse. And I'm sure it sounds like I'm in a passionate rant right there where I'm angry like an asshole about Joe Matarese for some reason. I'll tell you, this one hurt more than anything. When they pull up the screen, I think maybe they couldn't tell exactly. We probably had a split screen where we're on it and Joe and Ray DeVito or something.
Yep.
And Lewis goes, "Oh, they had Ray DeVito on?"
Yes.
And I wanted to be like, no, we didn't.
Well, it sounds by that clip that he realized that wasn't the case.
I hope so.
It feels like everybody has Ray DeVito on, yet I can't get a hold of him.
Yeah, what the hell? I've even gone to the top. I've gone to Carl to try to get Ray DeVito on David Collins' show, and just nothing. You've still heard nothing, David.
I emailed Carl yesterday. I said, Blind Mike had suggested that you would be a good person to reach out to and maybe see what the case is. Yeah, if he's just declining to get back to me, that's one thing. But if it's been overlooked, then I would like to know the difference.
Yes, right. Yeah, who the fuck does Ray DeVito think? Guy, reach out to Ray DeVito and tell him he should
And Ray
be on.
DeVito and I were on the same episode of Who Are the Podcasts when I was on that show back in January. So we've already built some sort of rapport there. I thought we had a working relationship at this point, but I'm not sure. And I'd like to think that he's just overlooked it. But then you hear all these other people saying such rude things about him, and I have to wonder: is he being rude to me?
That's interesting. Yeah, he's a little. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, I suppose.
No one's been more rude to Ray DeVito than Joe Matarese.
That's
Hack
true.
Ride made a cartoon about hack robots that suck at comedy being Ray DeVito, and it was still Joe Matarese.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So shout out to the Real Ass Podcast and the Real Ass Dude himself for always shouting out this program and being very kind to us. I appreciate the rattlesnake.
Well, I'd love to work with that show in the future. I've entered into a contest that show had proposed a couple weeks ago. Jerry sent me that clip, and I said, "Oh, that would be right up my alley." Doing some on the street interviews for that show too, and I said, "Oh, we could work it. I could two birds with one stone, so to speak." But that team has yet to get back to me, so I'm kind of looking forward to if that contest will ever take place.
Yeah, so tell me what this would be, David. You've mentioned it to me, but I wasn't aware of the contest. So you would be a correspondent for them in what way?
Right. They've requested submissions for a national correspondent competition where they'd go over news stories of sorts on their show. So maybe I think they're asking because, to quote, it was something like, we'll send that correspondent to ask podcast questions on the street. So it seemed like maybe they're talking about a news story and you bring that news story to the public.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll reach out to Luis J. Gomez for you, too, now. Try to get the ball rolling. Have they mentioned it since the first time? Have they just forgotten about this contest?
I think it's just been a couple weeks now, so, it's tough to say, but I'm sending emails. I'm following up on the social media, and they also are not getting back to me. So it's tough to know exactly what happened. It's funny that you say that about reaching out to Luis J. Gomez. I guess he does know your name, according to that clip. But moms are moms, and my mother had said to me, she said, "Oh, if you entered in that contest, the next thing that you do is reach out to Mike Geary and tell him to reach out." I said, "These two people are completely unrelated. That's a very what a mom thing to suggest." But it is funny that you would say that. She's the same person that heard I was doing more stand-up comedy and said, "Email Jerry Seinfeld, see what he could do for you." So this is a very motherly thing to do, and I thought it was another one of those situations. So it's funny that you bring that up.
I have a story very similar to that, David. After I was on Lauren Compton's podcast. Have I said this on the air already?
I don't think so.
After I was on Lauren Compton's podcast, my mom called me and didn't say, it was kind of like, "Hey, great job on the show." But immediately went right into, "So when are you going to get on Shane Gillis's podcast?"
Right.
And I go, I don't know, no time soon." And she goes, "But you're good friends with him, no?" And I go, "No, I'm certainly not good friends with him."
Right. My mother would have thought that me losing my job at the radio station was grounds to get on Rogan.
Yes. So for this this Real Ass Podcast contest, David, I think you'd be perfect for it. But you said you had a video. Did you want to play that? Your submission? Maybe we can get the ball rolling here. If the gearheads watch this, maybe we can have people reach out to Lewis and say,
that was going to be the next step, and I had talked about this with my team. We said, if this just doesn't go anywhere, we've already put the work into creating a submission video, and I think I would do a good job at that spot, and it might be a good opportunity to get some exposure from that show, and I think I might do a good job for them. So we'd like to, maybe push things along via social media if it's not happening more naturally.
Okay. Do you want to play the video, or do you want to hold off on that until you?
Well, I've sent you the video. Yeah, it would be exciting to have it played. It's a little embarrassing, really, but I am looking forward. I'm saying, Jerry, did it get played today? I'd love to see other people reacting to it, and that is, it's a little embarrassing. But we put a little work into a submission, and it's a contest, so I have it in my head that we're waiting to be judged.
All right, well, let's see it, and maybe if it's if it's good, which I'm sure it will be, the gearheads will reach out to Lewis and tell the rattlesnake to get moving here. Do we have that, Craig?
Well, I think there's something, especially something in here that's really going to get the gearheads on my side.
Okay, all right, let's take a look at it.
Hey there, I'm David Collins, formerly of 101.5 K-Rock, currently host of David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show, and this is my submission to your rap podcast national correspondent competition. When Jerry brought this competition to my attention, I had to ask myself, what makes me the most qualified national correspondent? Well, as host of my own show, I'm no stranger to a tough interview. With great guests like Annie Fiore, Eric Nagel, and Blind Mike Geary, I've been known to ask the hard questions.
Are you suggesting this is all a ruse? I will say I'm legally blind, and so at the time I could definitely see a little better.
Not just that, I've done street interviews my entire career and have no problem getting down and dirty with the public. 2 years ago, I moved from Manhattan, Kansas, up to Iowa to be closer to my mother. Yes, that means that your correspondent is from the unique state of Iowa, but it also means that I could be anywhere. Here in Dubuque, or even in Cedar Rapids. How about Janesville, Wisconsin? Or even on stage! My name's David Collins, and I'm the next rap podcast national correspondent.
Well, I like it a lot, David. I wonder, without the context of knowing who you are, I wonder how that would go. But I enjoyed it very much.
I enjoyed the handshake montage. Was my favorite part.
Well, I've done street interviews. We're looking forward to it. I love a contest.
Yes, yeah. So I hope they guys tweet at the Rattlesnake. Tell him that he's got to get David Collins, at least play David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show's submission here, because I think David would be a good correspondent.
Wouldn't that be exciting? And also, Luis J. Gomez, I believe, is going to be at Janesville, Wisconsin. I heard a little, I'm not sure exactly, because on his website it says September, and then I'm seeing other people from that comedy cabin talking about an earlier date. So who really knows? But we kind of snuck that in to say, oh, hey, we're near one of your shows.
Oh, interesting. Yes. Well, keep an eye on that. All right.
Anyway.
Should we go to other news in the podcasting world? I'm thinking Marc Maron's up to some of his old tricks. Should we check in with him?
Sure.
So we talked about this probably a couple of years ago now at this point, but like for a long time, Marc Maron has been on a crusade against Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, but he's doing it in the weirdest way possible, where he makes these, much like Joe Matarese, he makes these Instagram live streams. That, by the way, Marc Maron, if you ever hear this, I just compared you to Joe Matarese. Consider that. When you reflect on what you're doing here, you're using similar tactics to Joe Matarese. So he does like these Instagram lives where he talks about how toxic Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle are they're bad for the world and they're bad for comedy and all this stuff. And then he usually deletes them, or sometimes the streams are so long that no one ever really picks up on them. We played a couple of clips a while back, but I don't know how consistently he's been doing it lately. But he had Neil Brennan on. Neil Brennan's making the rounds promoting his new Netflix special. And he has Marc Maron on. And Neil Brennan on. And Neil's friends with Rogan and Chappelle, obviously. So Maron can't wait. This is like pretty much right out of the gate. He can't wait to get shots in at Rogan and Chappelle that I found pretty interesting.
All comedians, basically. No, I got what you were doing, and I liked how I don't know if I liked it, but you were very diplomatic about Joe. You wrote a line, but you made sure that it was going to be funny, even though you were saying, why are people turning to the clowns for moral guidance?
Yeah, why? How bankrupt are other categories of leadership? Religious,
pretty
corporate,
bankrupt.
Yeah, entirely.
Yeah.
Government. That finally someone said, has anyone asked the clowns what they think? It's the dumbest.
Well, real quick, I watched Neil's special, and it's a funny bit, and it's not at all shitting on Rogan and Chappelle. The angle is actually like, hey, we're comedians. We're silly goofballs. Why are you guys reporting these stories like politicians said it? You know? Like, why are you looking at Dave Chappelle's thoughts on trans people or Rogan's thoughts on the vaccine? Why are you using those like it's lawmakers commenting on these things? That's the bit that Neil is going with. But Maron so badly wants it to be something else so he can shit on these guys with him.
That like, what does transgender issues? Has anyone asked the guy who played Rick James what he thinks of?
Well, you don't have to ask him. He's going to guide the cultural dialogue all by himself.
Well, again, I would argue that's a failure of the culture itself.
Yeah, that's Neil's whole point, but you can tell Maron like desperately wants it to be. Even he's annoyed. He goes, "I'm not sure if I liked it, but you were very diplomatic about Joe Rogan." Like, so you would have rather Neil spend time on his special being like, "Fuck Joe Rogan." That's what would have made a better comedy special if he was mean to Joe. That's what you wanted, Mark. Like, Mark just seems like a bitter guy, and I thought the point of this podcast was to get him. Like, I thought he was getting healthier, like he was getting in a better state of mind. Wasn't that kind of the thing for a while, where he was airing out all his grievances with these people, and it was kind of leading him towards a better place?
It's like you could call it fixing Mark.
Boy, there's a lot more similarities than we realized, I guess. But yeah, there is, like, I don't know why Maron is so bitter. I guess, and maybe that's good, like having that kind of competitive thing where Maron was the #1 podcaster for a little while, and Joe passed him, I mean, so drastically.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Joe flew by him. Now, Maron's still got, obviously, a huge podcast and does very well. So I don't know why you can't just take solace in that. But there is a clear jealousy when he looks at these guys, and he keeps thinking, like, why don't I have that? That was a terrible Maron, and I won't do it again, I promise.
That was a Joe Matarese.
Yeah.
10 years ago, both Joe Matarese and Marc Maron, we would have said by the 2020s, these are both people that will have a great legacy.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, Maron is just hung up on this stuff, and he gets more into it, and he stops using Rogan and Chappelle's names, but you can tell he's talking about them as well as mixing in some other people.
My point was
dumbfounded by that.
My point was, I don't think it should be our responsibility to guide society.
But that's clickbait journalism's fault.
Agreed.
And and also I can't really fathom the tribalization of the business. That there is this ideological. There's a group of quote unquote comedy fans who never shut up, and they don't know anything about comedy, and they're just serving as this sort of like this tidal wave of kind of like homogenized thinking around what comedy is and what liberals are and what woke is and all this other shit, and it's just bothersome. That it's just
hold on. So is that really what's bothering you, Mark? That fans of comedy don't know the business as well as you? Are you sure that's what's bothering you? Like, he's like, oh, these fans of comedy that won't shut the fuck up. Well, Mark, that's Twitter. There's fans of sports that won't shut the fuck up. There's fans of politics that won't shut the fuck up. There's fans of everything that won't shut the fuck up. That's what social media is. I mean, just turn it off, I guess, if you don't like it, but people talk about what they like. So if you're mad that there's a lot of Joe Rogan fans, that's what's weird about this, is like, essentially what he's saying, and he won't come right out and say it, but basically what he's saying is like, I'm mad that being a Joe Rogan fan is much more mainstream than really any other comedian in history when you think about it. Because even like, if you look at the huge comedians, like you had Dice and Steve Martin and Dane Cook and these people, but there were kind of like blips on the radar as far as stand-up careers go. Like Steve Martin, who had the longest career of the guys I mentioned, was only a stand-up for a short time, all things considered. So like the idea that people have this fan base around stand-up is a relatively new idea. And Mark is mad that Joe is kind of at the forefront of that and created a culture where, you go down to the mothership and see a certain brand of comedian, I guess, which isn't true, by the way. You see all kinds of comedians at the mothership. But I think in Mark's mind, the mothership is all guys telling Joe Biden to fuck himself. Telling the Dems to shut up. When that's really not what it is at all. But like Maron's, you can hear in his voice that Maron's still hung up on this 2020 mindset, I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, because I'm actually not too familiar with, I can't even think of any Marc Maron jokes, but I enjoyed his Netflix show, Maron. I thought that was a great show. But isn't he known as his stand-up comedy to kind of be, he makes a point throughout his stand-up comedy, correct? So he's not one to be, and when he talks about, the clowns, of course, comedians are often compared to jesters. So, I'm not a big fan of comedians who want to go do a big political show, but to mention cultural issues that not a lot of people feel comfortable talking about in their comedy actually feels very appropriate to a stand-up comedian. So I'm not really sure where his point's coming from. It does seem like he's really not really picking the right words.
Well, no, you're right. You're right, David. Actually, that's a great point, because what Maron wants is that there are these like sycophant comedy fans that hang on your every word, but the person whose words they're hanging on are Marc Maron's. That's what this is. All it comes down to bitterness and jealousy. Like, it's very funny to watch to me. And he keeps trying to get Neil on his side, which Neil is kind of like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but also like, Joe and Dave are my friends, you know?
Marc Maron will be remembered still for some of the great podcasts that he did with celebrities that are now dead, just like Gilbert Gottfried and some of these old, so whatever the case is, he still has a great legacy, I think.
For sure. I think he's a great podcaster.
He had Barack Obama on,
He did, yeah. Like, you've achieved things, Mark. Jesus. And yeah, I always use his clips on Why Are You Laughing? Like, that's one of my go-to searches when I'm looking for a comedian's interviews, because I think he is a very good interviewer.
One of the few times you can find the creator of Zoolander, Drake Sather, being talked about at all in the last 10 years is Marc Maron's podcast.
There you go. It's a feather in his cap.
That's right. But it continues here.
Organized trolling entity that supports, a handful of comics and a way of thinking about comedy, and they're aggressively trying to take over the country.
Yeah, I would largely agree with that.
And the problem with that is, like, the pantheon of comedy is fragmented, and show business is fragmented, and now it's just a fucking free for all. And that's why certain people with the loudest mouths, who proclaim to have the right way of thinking, just take over culture because they're assholes.
I've thought about this on the way.
Well, Neil actually points out to him too, is like, yes, show business is fragmented. That's why you're as big as you are. Like, don't you get that? Kind of,
I don't think he got it.
Like, the reason Marc Maron's a big comedian and has a massive podcast is because we live in today's society. Whereas you look at, 30 years ago, like, Air America failed because that's just not what the world was looking for at the time. Like, when Marc Maron was on the radio, it didn't work because he wasn't able to find his audience. Because of the internet, Maron was able to find his audience. And Neil Brennan points out to him, like, pretty much everyone that would like Marc Maron has found him because they're able to. Where in 1985, that just wouldn't happen. There's people that would have been fans of Gary Shandling or whatever. They just didn't realize they would be because that's just not how the world worked, But yeah, Maron doesn't get that through his head. There's a lot of jealousy that rules his life, and he hates that. What he really hates is that, like, Chappelle and Rogan control the dialogue more than he does, I think.
Yeah. And he also doesn't like when people are at MSG.
No, that's a big sticking point. He's very jealous about all these arena acts now, and you can tell that he looks down at most of them now. I feel like he's talking about Andrew Schultz here.
Schultz and Reif were the ones that came to my head.
Reif but Reif doesn't try to be political.
That's true. That's true.
I'm assuming he's talking about Andrew Schultz, but you guys judge for yourselves.
Neither does his writers.
Nicely done, David.
But I mean, that was a big fucking deal.
Mm-hmm.
Here, like, there's people I don't even know playing Madison Square Garden. And no one knows except their fans, who they have accumulated on TikTok. So there's no, it's not a hierarchy thing, but the status of it is fragmented. Like,
I agree with it, but I would also agree that you've benefited from a bifurcated market.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you benefited from. You're not for everybody, but everyone that was possibly gonna like you found you.
Now, that's true. Sure.
Which I don't think that's any different.
I'm not
saying do the Garden, but you did. You did the Beacon, and you've done like other.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not my complaint. My complaint is that the worst, seem to amass the most. I'm very specifically troubled by the hackneyed and ridiculous idea of anti-woke, and like, I might get canceled. It's like, yeah, it's hack.
It's also a completely straw man argument that you've made up. Like, if you look at even the comedians that I think he's talking about, like, other than maybe Schultz and Rogan, But like, I think pretty much everyone has kind of backed off that. You don't hear a lot of that now, even from the best stand-up in the country, in my opinion, who got canceled. Like, is the go-to example of someone who got fucked over by cancel culture. He doesn't harp on that stuff. Shane Gillis.
Right.
So like, I don't know who Maron's talking about here, unless it's two guys, which if it's Rogan and Schultz that he's bitching about, that's not a cultural problem. That's two individuals that you're mad that they're more popular than you, which is pretty weird. Like that, like Maron has made this complete straw man argument where he's like, the culture is going to these guys, and Neil Brennan has to sit there and convince him. Like, that's the kind of sad part about it, is Neil has to be like, hey man, you've played the Beacon, like you've done things. And Maron's like, I know, but Andrew Schultz is more successful than me. Yeah, but you're more successful than 99.999% of people who have ever tried stand-up, Mark. Isn't that enough? You know, you don't have to be this bitter.
Does Marc Maron not care about his show credits? Hasn't he written a book? These are things that also represent success.
Absolutely, yeah. But no, he's hung up on, like, I think some people look at Schultz selling out MSG or Rogan getting $250 million from Spotify and think, why don't I have that?
Oh,
Which
it's because
again
he
is
hasn't
like,
had enough MMA people on.
that's right.
Yeah.
But it's a very stuttering Joe Matarese type thing to be counting other people's money. And it's kind of sad to see Marc Maron do it, like a guy that's that successful.
You can hear it in Neil's voice. He's like, this feels like Thanksgiving with my brother.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think of that angle where he's like, fuck, I'm sitting across from Kevin just bitching about how this guy has more than he does.
Next we got morons.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is obviously the problem is that society likes shitty comedy rather than just like further diagnosing the problem.
The big problem is that there is a certain school of comedy / cultural criticism that is enabling morons to think they're smart. And,
right.
You know, I think that's the biggest problem with culture is that there are people that are fundamentally sort of uneducated, not that great at critical thinking or even rational thought, that will believe just about anything if it's delivered to them with enough force and something they can relate to. And then they just move through the world confidently, you know, spouting bullshit and working against the common cause.
Yeah, I guess. Yes, I agree with that. Now, who's to blame for it is a way longer, more complicated discussion.
Is it?
Yeah, because I think it begins it's like an Adam Curtis documentary where it's like,
now, isn't he talking about the art of making people laugh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about comedy, but no one's as real as him, man. No one gets it the way Mark does.
He sounds like he's bitching about preachers or something.
Well, here's my issue with what Maron's saying is like, you know, and I've backed off on talking about this, as I think most people have, other than like political pundits and stuff. But like, I cared a lot about you know, all the cancel culture stories and all that stuff, and largely it's died down, so I don't talk about it as much anymore. But I think to say that wasn't a culture of trying to cancel people is incorrect. Like, there was that, and there still is some of that. You just saw it with Ryan Whitney this week, where it's like the instinct by people, and I think this is a cultural thing, the instinct was to go to New Amsterdam, who makes Pink Whitney, and say to them, you should drop Ryan Whitney. You should not work with him anymore. To me, that's a cultural issue because for years now, we've said, hey, you should attack people's employers to pressure them into fire. And there's example. It's happened. You know, I worked for a guy that it happened to. Like it exists in society, Mark. I'm sorry if you don't think it happens. But Mark's right. I don't think it's as prevalent anymore as certain people would have you believe. So if that's your argument, then I would also say these people online who listen to Joe Rogan and think they're smarter than they are, well, that's not a cultural issue either. That's only a small percentage of people. That's anecdotal. So you can't have it both ways, where it's not a societal issue when you don't want it to be, and it is when you don't like it. You know? Like, that's my issue with this whole Maron rant and this thing he keeps going on. Like, this is, I mean, when's the last time we talked about Maron? 2 years ago, probably?
Probably.
And he's still on this Chappelle Rogan thing. Like, Chappelle and Rogan are ruining culture. Chappelle's special came out and didn't get a tremendous amount of buzz. Like there wasn't a lot of talk about it.
It's because he left the trannies alone.
Jesus, Craig.
Or transgender, sorry. My apologies.
Good Lord. Craig's part of the problem that Maron's talking about. That's a societal issue.
I think that's the second time you've really pulled me back here today, Craig.
Jesus.
Just something in the first 20 minutes. I recall looking at the time and saying, well, at least it wasn't so early, but you said something really dramatic twice
You guys
today.
gonna tag New Amsterdam in these complaints?
I didn't even catch the first one. Jesus.
What was the first one?
I didn't write it down.
Yeah, we don't need to repeat it.
Oh. Okay.
God help me if somebody would have found me with that written down.
Oh, Jesus. All right. Well, you know what? I take it all back. Craig has proved maybe Maron's got a point.
Marc Maron, the white Cat Williams.
Let me tell you something, Neil Brennan.
I want to be an arena act.
Not I am.
Yeah, I want to
I
be.
wish.
This is the last clip here, is him being played.
Okay. Oh, no, this is us being played, I think. Society.
Oh, yeah, I think he uses that word.
Yeah.
If I have any empathy about it at all, it's that I do think that a lot of comics are being played to fit in, appropriated by the sort of right-wing momentum.
Mm-hmm.
By you
think otherwise
well, they're making a lot of money. They don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But the whole anti-woke thing is really just a right-wing talking point. It's a wedge issue.
Yeah.
And now there are people that we know who have decided that is their ideology. And I see that as being played.
Yeah, I would agree. And
but they're making good money.
Yeah.
And that's what's really important.
And I hope the damage isn't as it's
going to be
massive as you and I think it's going to be.
It's going to be bad, dude.
Like, what is he talking about? Who is he talking about?
I don't know. Neil Brennan's no better either, really.
No, he he gives into this argument a little more than I expected him to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised he didn't push back and say, like, well, what do you mean exactly? Maybe he agrees with Maron more than I do. But yeah, I don't get Maron's thing of like, this is like society is going to be taken down by Joe Rogan listeners. Like, believe me, as a guy that like likes a lot of what Rogan does, when I meet someone who I can tell is a Joe Rogan fan, it's usually a tough conversation. Does that make any sense?
They're mad.
When I meet someone that I can stereotype as, oh, this guy definitely listens to Rogan, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's just like, oh, this is an obnoxious person.
You know, you may get a kick out of this. When I went up to the Comedy Cabin in Wisconsin, Janesville, Wisconsin, 3 of the open micers there went up and throughout their set at some point mentioned Joey Diaz. I said, where am I?
Yeah, like that can be obnoxious, but I think if, as far as a culture or society, we all kind of say like that's douchey. Like you look at, I was listening to Kill Tony this week, which takes place in Joe Rogan's club that Maron has such a problem with. And some girl went up and was just like bluntly racist, almost as bad as Craig was earlier in the show. And they just shit on her for 10 minutes and then kicked her off the stage. It wasn't celebrated. They didn't lift her up on their shoulders and carry her out of there. It wasn't celebrated. It was just like, what are you, a fucking idiot? Why are you doing that?
Cut it out.
Yeah. So I don't know what Maron's talking about this societal issue. Maybe it's plaguing the nation, but I don't know. It seems like there's people protesting in colleges that are kind of worse than a guy that just listens to Rogan and does MDMA, you know?
They're not great.
He has a very successful show, but if I could offer one tip, he could just bring in a clip of something that he's talking about and play that, and then they could respond to that clip, and everybody kind of is on the same page.
Exactly, like we do here, right, David?
Well, it'd be tough. Imagine describing that entire conversation and then commenting on it. You'd sound like Marc Maron.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe that's what it all boils down to, is you need clips. Otherwise, you'd sound fucking nuts.
He needs a producer.
Yeah, whereas if Maron was like, look at this fucking, look at what Rogan's doing here, then we could all laugh with him, you know?
I know I brought it up already. He's bitching about society and all this stuff, and the president of the United States was in his garage.
Right, well, that's the thing, is Maron wants to be the thought police, basically. Maron wants to tell you which way the wind is blowing. He doesn't want Joe Rogan to be able to tell you that. He wants everyone to listen to him instead of Joe. That's the thing, is he's not saying that comedians shouldn't have this much influence. He's saying I should have this much influence and others shouldn't.
Anyway, Craig, you probably loved that episode. You just wish they left the car on.
Very good, David.
I don't want any president to be assassinated, especially by Marc Maron.
Thank God you're finally cleaning it up.
That was funny.
All right. Moving on to other comedians with, I was going to say beef, but not so much, I guess. Here's an example of a comedian who's taken things well. We talked about Joe Matarese and Marc Maron, I guess. Both these guys could learn from the way this man reacted, and that would be Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel's gotten a lot of reaction online lately. There was the Dana White thing. I saw our boy, not Joke World, Too Lazy to Try. He's made a couple of videos about Howie Mandel recently, and I looked into him, and I didn't find anything interesting. I kind of like Howie Mandel. I liked his recent Matt and Shane appearance. I thought he was very funny on there. But people seem to hate him recently, and he's gotten the attention of Redbar, Mike David from Redbar, who, as I said earlier, if he ever attacks this program, I'll just join in with him because he'll be spot on. And that's the way I think you kind of should approach those things. But not everyone does, as we've seen in comedy. So I think Howie Mandel actually has the right attitude. So it got back to him that Redbar was talking about him. And this is pretty rare, and I think good for Howie Mandel, a guy of his stature. I mean, whatever you think of his comedy is one thing. Like, I've never seen his stand-up. All I know is that he blew a glove up on his head, so right. I don't know how respected he was. But like a guy of his level of fame, the guy hosts America's Got Talent, and he hosted a massive game show and everything, like very famous. So for him to play along like this, I think is a positive thing.
I don't mind negativity. I watch, when I hear about negativity, I watch it like just people that there's a guy named Redbar who has I actually like the guy.
His podcast. He hates us. He hates me too.
But he hates everything about me. I think he hates everything about me, but it makes me laugh.
So Howie Mandel goes on, and that's his daughter with him, who his daughter has fun with it. And then this other guy, I think his name is Lou. I wasn't familiar with him, and I couldn't figure out who he was exactly. But he takes it so poorly, and Howie has to teach him throughout the whole thing, like, no, this is actually a good thing. And stop going against us on this. It completely detracts from what we're doing. But Howie actually is like a good sport about this stuff. And I would say to people like Stuttering John and Joe Matarese, like, learn from this. Both because Howie Mandel's career is so much further along than you guys, but also like this is the right attitude to get people on your side. How much more endearing is this? Can you imagine if Howie Mandel got on his podcast and was like, "Oh yeah, Redbar. Oh yeah, Lady Redbar. Well, here's a picture of your father who's dying of cancer." How much less would you want to be on that guy's side than what we're hearing here?
Significantly. But here he is just showing he's got the right attitude.
Okay.
I don't know, but he hated us.
But I don't mind being hated.
It's okay to be hated, but he's doing it with such a superior attitude, as if he's accomplished anything in his life.
He's got a really good podcast.
He has a podcast.
He's got a good podcast criticizing other podcasts.
What's his name?
Redband. I don't know what its real name is. Redbar.
Poor Brian Redband. He always gets that shrapnel.
Yeah.
I don't know why people always make that mistake, but Redband. Everyone gets that wrong.
Boy, that Lou guy is really looking rough since he yelled at that trumpet player in Long Island.
I don't know the reference.
Just silently.
So do I. I give him a thumbs up. I give him a heart, and the harder he goes on me, the more. Here's the way I feel.
I don't understand that.
What do you mean?
I don't understand that. I mean, he's clearly going out of his way to belittle you, and
it doesn't belittle me. Here's
he's trying. I know it's not doing that to you, but that's his whole reason.
No, it isn't.
How great is Howie Mandel's attitude here?
It's amazing.
Where he's like, no, shut the fuck up, Lou, or whatever your name is. And for some reason, like, the way this guy Lou is reacting is kind of the way we're taught to react. And again, if you want to talk about societal issues, Marc Maron, that's a societal issue. Is that we're all, if someone like criticizes you, you're kind of taught to be like, oh, well, they have problems. Actually, they're the ones with the problem. Where sometimes that's true, and other times it's just a guy fucking around, you know. And Howie Mandel looks at it and says, like, no, this guy, he's not just some scumbag. He's been successful. Like, he does a good show that people seem to enjoy, even if it's not for Howie. Like, maybe Howie Mandel won't sit down and watch 6 hours of Redbar. But, like, people obviously enjoy it, and Howie Mandel has an understanding of that. I wouldn't have expected this from Howie Mandel. Because, like, he feels kind of removed from stand-up just because he's famous for so many other things.
Yeah.
So you would expect a guy like this to be stuffier. But also, like, certain guys just think they're above responding to someone like Redbar for some reason, where I like that Howie's having fun with it. This makes me respect him a lot more.
Here he's talking about Radio City.
Okay, so Howie Mandel played Radio City Music Hall, obviously massive 7,000 seat venue in New York City, and he sold it out twice in one night.
And Maron was furious.
The guy just fucking blows a glove up on his head. I don't get it.
Well, to be fair, too, we played. I don't remember what show we were talking. We played a clip of Howie talking about that, and he's like, "I don't know why people laugh at it, so I just keep doing it."
It was him and Carrot Top. We talked about in the Carrot Top episode of Why You Laughing.
Yes.
Yeah. So Howie Mandel's always had a good perspective on this stuff, but he's telling the story about him selling out Radio City and why that relates to him getting criticized here.
But I realized that in this city of one of the biggest cities in the world, of maybe in Manhattan, there's like 10 million, or New York City, there's 10 million people.
I'm still counting.
Okay. 14,000 people came to see me, which means 9,986,000 people don't give a shit. And what I realized,
there are only so many seats. You shouldn't take it so personally, of course. Don't that's pretty extreme. I don't mean to interrupt Howie. He's a legend. Excuse me.
Statistically, if there was 2 sellouts, more people would want to go.
That's true. If you had a third show and it didn't sell out, maybe you could have this perspective. But no, you are mathematically, you're correct. There are only so many seats.
Successful you think you are, no matter how. There's always mostly people who don't give a shit, and a lot of people who don't like what you're doing.
Weird thinking, man.
But
this guy sucks. Who is this guy?
Looks like a bum. You want to elaborate on that trumpet joke? Is there something he did?
Oh, do you not recall? I don't, of course it just looks similar. I can't imagine to be the same person. I don't think that person works in media. But that old, that short Jewish man that was screaming at the trumpet player in Long Island to stop playing. He said, you can't even hold a note. It was a big viral video years ago. And I believe last year that person was actually interviewed on the news and kind of giving his defense of the whole scenario. And he came off as a much more reasonable person. Maybe now he's working with Howie.
I kind of figured it was something like that, but I'm glad Craig stopped the show in order to make sure we had that clear.
I saw him again, and I was like, I have to ask.
But how annoying is this guy? He's like, no, Howie, you should be really angry about this.
Your day should be wrecked.
Actually, Howie, you should be suicidal because Mike David made fun of you.
But Howie's telling him to keep doing it.
Yeah, good. See, this is the way to be. Just Stuttering John and all you people. And this is kind of what I tried to get across to Tom Myers is like, this is the way to approach this stuff. This is how you get people on your side. And Tom had a little bit of that when we interviewed him, where you could see in the comments, some people were like, okay, I'm starting to come around in this Tom Myers. Maybe he can be a little more playful than I thought. This is the way you should handle Chris. Now, I mean, obviously, if someone goes fucking crazy and talks about your family or just being an asshole, whatever, that's a different story. But what I'm saying is, I've listened to plenty of WATP. I've never heard Carl be nasty, where I'm like, I can't believe he's saying that. So if that's the tone, why spend your life, Stuttering John, with a vendetta against the criticism against you? Be more like Howie Mandel.
Louis probably told Howie, mention how you wrote for the Ben Bailey roast.
That is a good credit to bring up, yes.
but he just rips every moment.
Yeah,
What?
He hates me.
He's not worthy of having an opinion of.
Yes,
Why?
he
Yes,
is.
he is. Everyone can have an opinion.
Yes, he is. I love you.
commented too. I think I said something
Keep
nice.
fucking with me.
Redbar, fuck you.
No, fuck with me. I'm telling you, it
They
doesn't
didn't like
bother
my
me.
hair. They said that I look like someone else because my hair sucks.
You know what? First of all,
Your voice sounds like a
here's the way I.
clothespin is on your balls. How about that, Redbar?
Wow,
You-
you got
you're
him.
so-
You got him. You got him. Lou got him. Lou got him bad.
Go fuck with this show, man.
Because you know that if you put a clothespin on your balls, you know how that changes your voice every time.
I have to tell you, I do like it though, and he is good at what he does because
No, he's-
I sat through our whole podcast and our whole interview, and I was still entertained all the way through his take on our interview.
Yeah, even the daughter has the red, and like Redbar made fun of Howie Mandel's daughter, and he's still saying like, "Keep going, Redbar, we like it." And this Lou guy's like, "Fuck him." I don't get why Lou's so worked up about it.
He's even more angry than I recalled when I was cutting these.
It's very weird that he's so angry. But yeah, I wanted to play those because someone actually mentioned it in the Matarese chat to Joe, and it was like, "Hey, you should watch Howie Mandel. He talks about Redbar." And Joe goes, "Oh, I will. He gives it back to Redbar. I'm gonna watch that." And it's like, oh, when I watched this, I was like, "Oh no, Joe, this is the playbook that you've been missing for so many years."
Is that Redbar commenting at all how they're, I watched that clip and I wonder about their body language. The daughter and Howie constantly have their backs to each other, even though they're both at a table. They should both kind of be facing forward. And then he's throwing his arm around and she's constantly kind of covering her head. I wonder if she's used to accidentally being smacked in that setup, and they've kind of, because they always have their backs to each other, it seems like.
Oh, interesting. You'd think with Howie's history, it wouldn't be such close quarters. You'd think people would be spread out for fear of
Right,
germs
maybe
and
he's
whatnot.
afraid of coughing. He says, the whole show, can we just keep back to back?
It's his offspring though, so maybe it's different.
Sure, maybe, yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, shout out to Howie Mandel because it seems like he's got the absolute right attitude.
Definitely.
Where should we go next? I forget what we've got here in the lineup. What do you think?
Our favorite coach.
Oh, you want to go to the resignation?
Whatever the fuck this is, yes.
Are you familiar with Coach HP, David?
I mean, I'm not sure how many people really are, no offense to Mr. HP, but he's an interesting channel. I've seen you two talking about him in the past.
Certainly, yeah. I didn't know if you were ever on when we discussed him in the past, but we like Coach HP. He's the most positive man on the internet and a bit of a fraud.
Until
But
today.
That's all well and good. Yeah, so today his whole thing is positivity.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And then I came across a video of his last post from a couple weeks ago, actually. I haven't checked in on Coach HP in a while. And I was like, oh boy, I haven't seen much from him lately. I wonder why not. Well, his last video, I shuddered in fear for a moment because it was titled, "I Quit." So I guess we'll hear. I was worried he was quitting. I thought he might be suicidal here. But he explains a little more what exactly "I quit" means.
I noticed probably about a month ago, something happened to me that I'll release public very soon. But something happened to me that I said, whoa, I got to stop here and I got to really think everything that I'm doing. I was
So,
coming
hold
back.
on. Can I say real quick? When you just hear that, I'll ask David because he hasn't heard these clips yet. David, he says he's quitting because something happened to him and he can't release the information yet, but he will very soon. Where does your mind go?
Charges that he's, still figuring out there.
Okay, that's reasonable. I thought when I heard it, I thought a health scare of some kind.
Oh, I thought something with these kids he coached or something.
I was, my mind is focused on this coach thing. Is he a real coach? And that could cause issues.
That's interesting. Well,
Well, kids
the good news is he says he'll get to it someday. By that, he meant in about 9 seconds, he reveals what happened. But yeah, it's interesting. So that's where our minds are. Legal charges or illness. So let's see.
And I got to really think everything that I'm doing. I was just coming back from a big time event. Had every door imaginable closed to me at that event, where I'm wondering, am I really doing the right thing here? Am I in the right place?
Did he forget, step one, do the podcast. You just got to do it.
He sounds like he's about to cry. Am I wrong?
No, he sounds like he's going to cry.
He's tearing up here. So, like, he goes, someday I will reveal the horrible tragedy that was thrust upon me that I have to respond to. Anyways, here's what happened.
I had every door slammed in my face.
So quickly, too. He says, I was at this wonderful event. You wouldn't believe how great this event was. Just a sentence later, it's shut in his face.
It was a great event until people started screwing me over.
Hey, what's up, Hunt? Hunt, can you hear me, bro?
He's talking to the chat.
Check this guy here.
Oh, I forgot about this part. Jesus.
Any questions? Guys, if you see me on this, ask a question.
There's no one in the chat right now, by the way.
8 people watched.
See, maybe I can help you.
This.
Any questions?
I have a question, HP. Do you have any questions for me?
You have watched, you bastard.
Well, I've seen you two talk about it. I'm using your references, of course.
There we go. Ask a question. You're on it. I'll try my best to answer it if I can. So I'm back here. I'm at this event. Everything goes wrong. Second time I'm at this event. Guy promises me big time. These are big time people I'm after, guys. I'm not trying to interview, just not on purposely, but the people that I'm talking to are big time people. And pretty much everybody tells me the same thing. They're like, yeah, man, absolutely. We're going to do this with you. We're going to do that with you. And nothing happens. So to me,
Tell me to go suck an egg.
Does he not ever know that people are just being nice?
Right, yeah. Like here's what probably happened is Coach HP showed up at an event where no one was trying to book podcast guests. He probably somehow got an invite to an event that there were some names there. And Coach HP is going up to people and saying, oh, you are so tremendous. You are one of the greatest in whatever your field is. Will you do my podcast, please? And they're like, yeah, sure, definitely, someday. Why not?
Don't forget, he had Wallow on a gunpoint in what appeared to be a hotel lobby.
Well, here's the thing. Is like sometimes you got to know your place in the world. Like if I texted my friend Shane Gillis to do the podcast and he said no or didn't get back to me or whatever, I would say perfectly reasonable because the man hosted Saturday Night Live. He doesn't need or have the time to do this show. Sometimes you have to be realistic about your lot in life, your standing. But Coach HP looks at it and says, oh, but I asked very nicely and I said such nice things about them. Now, he doesn't look at it and say his podcast, this episode, I believe, had 35 views when I checked total.
Let me check here. I can get an update on the numbers.
Yeah, you know what? Let's run the numbers. I'd hate to misquote those.
We don't want to undersell this man's work here.
Because maybe DiCaprio would have gone on if it's 50 views instead of 35.
Yeah, Bob De Niro, he said no to me. He's calling him Bob. It's like, shut up.
I was this close to getting Elon Musk when he told me yes, and then he did not come on.
Well, there must be something to say if he shoots high enough, he'll run into people that don't even bother to check the numbers first.
Oh, absolutely. That is what you should do. But I guess what I'm saying is, David, if you reached out to a big name, like, by the way, he has a lot of wins. He had Wallow from $1 Million Worth of Game. He had Brendan Schaub. He had Andrew Schultz. I know who he's referring to, by the way. I think there are other names involved, but he posted a video a couple weeks ago at some event where it's loud as fuck, by the way. So this is obviously not like a networking event. It's probably a club or something. And he's talking to Dana White. And he teases in the short, there's a YouTube short of him with Dana White, and he teases in that Dana White's going to be on the podcast, and he never was.
Oh, that's probably one of the most famous guys in sports.
Yeah. So Dana White didn't have time to sit down with Coach HP. And Coach HP is like, well, this is the last straw. I am no longer Mr. Nice Guy.
And nothing happens. So to me, when I start seeing that happen over and over again, repeatedly with those patterns, I start saying to myself, this is a sign.
Yeah. I don't think you're realizing what sign it is, though.
It's a sign that you just can't get that level of guess. So anyway, this is the episode. I quit doesn't necessarily mean what you think. He's not quitting broadcasting. This is just the episode where Coach HP stops being polite and starts to get real.
Right. But here he is talking about his guests.
Okay. These cocksuckers.
So as I look back and I look at everybody that I have on my show, everybody that was
They are all shit.
They're dog shit.
Gringo Poppy was the worst hunk of trash I've ever seen in my life.
But they just
David Lucas, what do you do? Make a couple jokes that Tony Hinchcliffe is gay? Big deal.
That'd be pretty funny if he
It'd be great if he just completely flipped.
goes scorched earth.
Oh, Scott, I don't think your table was even very well made.
It wouldn't be bad for his algorithm.
Walmart makes better tables.
And I look at everybody that I have on my show, everybody that was supposed to come on my show, but they just disappeared, didn't reach back out, didn't keep up their word, all this stuff. As I notice all that, I go to myself, this is a sign here, something isn't right. And then how can I incorporate what's happening to me with you guys in your life, with whatever stage you're at, whether you're still playing ball and you're like, damn, this isn't working out for me. This is a sign. So my sign is I'm here trying to get these big interviews. I got these big people lined up and nobody's keeping their word.
So how many of you think Dana White is a scumbag?
Well, he's had these comedians on the show. Does he believe that his audience is primarily baseball players?
Oh yeah, he's well, I think the biggest video he ever did was like how to break in a baseball mitt or something. So that got him his followers, I guess. So I don't know. It is, yeah, you're right, David. It is weird. Like if you're following his baseball players, it's weird to try and get Brendan Schaub and David Lucas on. Doesn't
You know
make
what?
sense.
You know what I think happened is all these people that he's trying to get on the show looked him up, and they saw that Happy Dads guy he came on, where he harassed him at the end and forced him to talk to him on the phone after the program.
Well, here's the thing, like, take solace in your wins, Coach HP. He was on fucking Erica Nardini's podcast when she was still a Barstool. Like, he's had some win. He's overshot his whatever the fuck that is, you know?
He outkicked his coverage.
Outkicked his coverage. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. You've done a damn fine job, Coach, of duping these guests into coming on your show.
Next we have this is my favorite part. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Oh, that is it. The gloves are off. Joe Rogan, Marc Maron is right about you.
He's charging the mound.
That's right. That's right, David.
After that event on Friday, and I see the way people treat me in the follow through of I meet you, I give you my energy, we talk, we make a deal, man to man, mano a mano, me and you strike a deal. Hey, dude, we're gonna do this, and that. I have you on camera. The beauty of it is I got these people on camera. Look, you're on camera. Like, yeah, of course. And then they ghost me, right? So what I'm gonna do moving forward
Stab them in
is
the heart.
I'm not gonna chase any of these people anymore. I'm gonna sit there. You got one shot with me. I don't care who you are. If there are people bullshit me, that's on them.
Now this guy I like.
Yes, I need this guy's show.
You can come to me if you want.
He said, here's
are
what
you
I'm going to
promoting?
do. I want to see that footage. He has all these people saying yes and then not doing the show. He should release the footage.
Yeah, evidently, Dana White is one of them that we've seen. I don't know who else said no to him, but I just like the idea of one of these guys sitting down with Coach HP, and he's like, well, what horse shit do you have to promote? Go ahead.
Your tables, they're not so great.
Yes. Blah, blah, blah. You have some stand-up tour. Now let me get into why you suck. You would be lucky to be Joe Matarese. Maybe he's seen our coverage of him and is like, this is the key.
I mean,
I need to be more negative.
If he asked you to go on the show, you'd have to.
Oh, I would gladly, yeah. I need my balls licked.
I don't think you'd lick him.
Maybe he's not doing that anymore, though. Oh, how many fingers am I holding up, fat boy?
You are the best blind man I've seen do anything ever.
Well, I'd say no offense to you, Mike, but seeing this video, if he sends you a request to be on the show, somebody should give Coach HP a welfare check.
That's true. That's true. That means he's falling on pretty hard times if he's coming to me.
But it's like the point I was gonna make was like it wouldn't help you at all if you did his show. Even
me?
Yeah.
No, of course not.
That's what I'm saying. And he's going for Dana White.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what you're not that's why I think his whole positivity thing has been horseshit. Because he's not looking at it and saying, like, oh, is this mutually beneficial for them? They're being polite by blowing him off. And he's like, well, then you are dead to me. We will see. The UFC will crumble in my hands now that you have betrayed me.
What's funny though is like the show is called the Coach HP Podcast.
Mhm.
On the corner it says HP and Friends. On the back it says a catch of positivity with Coach HP and effort and attitude.
Well, branding is it's not his strong suit necessarily.
Which one of these?
Seeing the attitude today.
That's right.
No effort from the guests, all attitude from Coach HP.
The best comedians on the planet, one of the best MMA fighters on the planet. Some people are arguing the best right now. One of the best up-and-coming boxers, coaches on the planet, Dude's a savage.
He's listing people he hung out with. No, I'm serious. That's what he's doing.
I believe you. That's why I'm laughing.
Entrepreneurs on the planet, and all these people here, if they see it soon, these other people are going to see it. And if they don't, that's on them. I'm going to keep doing my content. I'm going to keep helping, answering your questions, which is what I really care about anyway. And
I don't think so.
This whole point of this show has always been to help as many people as possible, to help them manage.
That's why you have Brendan Schaub on, to help people.
Yes.
That was really the most important thing about telling Brendan Schaub how great he was, is we all got a lot of help from it as viewers.
Right.
In whatever I'm going through, whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing, whether when I was just starting, whether this guy has an issue, whatever it is. So I'm going to combat these people with their negativity, with their ignoring of me, is I'm just going to quit. I'm going to quit chasing them. I'm going to keep reaching back out. I wish them all the best. It sucks because a lot of these people are people that I look up to, that I've been watching for a while. So it sucks because as I meet them, then I'm like, oh, here we go. Now they're on the clock. So now they're in the clock of, is this person going to follow through, or are they full of shit? That's what it always comes down to. And the more people I deal with, the more higher up they go, unless you really, that they feel that you're on the level, they kind of bullshit you a little bit and they push you to a side.
Lost Coach HP for the last time. I'm hoping his next episode is some guest of recognition, and it's just silence for the first 8 minutes. And then Coach HP just finally says, when are you going to start sucking my dick? You piece of shit. He's like, I am done pleasing these people. I don't understand why he's so angry, because I assume 2 guests were polite to him and then didn't do his show. That caused him to abandon his positive outlook on life. That's why I think this guy's like a total fraud, because all it takes is one rejection for him to be like, well, that is it. They are all dead to me.
Well, he's just going to have to get revenge.
Oh, good. Let's see.
When people keep promising you stuff, they don't deliver. They're like, yeah, whatever, or they jump on somebody else's bandwagon. It's okay. As long as you keep performing with effort and attitude, and you keep reminding yourself that at the end of the day, you will win.
Or else. I wonder what this new Coach HP fuck the world show is going to be. I'm ready for it. I think that's fun.
I do enjoy him trying to keep it positive still. He's like, it'll be good or whatever the fuck. That's his attitude. Right
now. I will be the best mass shooter of all time. I will go to UFC headquarters and I will light that place up. What was that, David? I'm sorry.
Well, I just certainly hope that he didn't ask a superhero to appear on his show. He sounds like a villain's origin story.
He really does. Like, this is how the Joker was created.
No shit.
Being turned down by Dana White.
I'm sick of everyone picking on me. Here he is popping off.
Oh, I mean, that's it. That's it. People, you've unleashed the beast. Now you're gonna get the horns.
I would love to do a show that starts titling it "Popping Off." These are all the people that promised me shit and didn't do shit. Look how famous they are. Look how successful they are.
Look how famous they are.
You know what? I'm going to start doing that too. Let's list the people that haven't done anything for me. Denzel Washington.
Look at these famous people I reached out to that don't want anything to do with me.
Jeff Bezos. Aside from a few Amazon packages, hasn't lifted a finger for me.
That motherfucker. He's a piece of shit.
Starts titling it "Popping Off." These are all the people that promised me shit and didn't do shit. Look how famous they are. Look how successful they are. Look, they're this, billionaire, multimillionaire, millionaires of dollars, this is that, and nothing.
Oh, you may see a picture of Charlize Theron here. What I see is a cunt with a capital C. He's just listing famous people and going to be like, this person did nothing for me. Next slide. This person did nothing for me.
He's really going down the list of the busiest people on the planet.
I know.
Yeah, I picked a group of people with the least free time possible. And that care about their like brand and the podcasts they do. And I've now got a vendetta against them for not doing the Coach HP show. Which again, did we ever get a count on that? Is it 35 views? Was that the tally?
It's 35 views from when you sent it to me a week and a half ago.
Okay. Well, the good news is it's 35 views in a week and a half, but it's really climbed because 5 days ago it was at 31, I think. So
there we go.
It's got
You'll
some
boost
traction.
those numbers.
Yeah.
Here's video. Here's person A, exhibit A, example A, exhibit B. Blah, 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 blah. I would love to do that. And what is that going to do? What is that going to do?
Other than feel great. Here is Ben Affleck. He has done nothing for me. Now, here's a picture of Casey Affleck. Also done nothing for me. The entire Affleck family. You are dead to me. It's like, I love Coach HP listing the celebrities that haven't been on his show.
I wanted King Charles on the show, and he said no. And I said, Cancer Smancer.
Has he always had that flag behind him?
No.
I'd like to think that he's actually mocking you, Blind Mike, and using your likeness, but you wearing an HP hat in the middle. He's not one that wears it's your moniker, in fact, in the middle of that flag.
It's quite
son of a
literally
bitch.
It's quite literally the Gearhead logo with a catch of positivity above it.
That son of a bitch. He's taunting me. Maybe he's doing that because he knows I'm the only person that will do his show. He's like, no. You will never be on here.
He's doing everything in his power to get you to notice him and ask to be on his show so he can have that over you.
It'd be great if this was all about me, just so he could say no to me.
This is Coach Incel.
I think we've got a trouble is brewing. I think a mass shooting is coming or something.
Well, you have too many fights going on right now, Blind Mike.
You think so?
Well, between Joe Matarese and Coach A, hopefully they don't team up.
That could be rough. Even Joe Matarese has said no to me.
Time to bring in the closer.
Well, that one I'd welcome.
Yeah.
When the chick comes that hopefully you guys are into, and she tells you, yeah, I would love to hang out, and she doesn't, what are you going to do? Are you going to call your parents? Oh, I knew she was a liar. That's weakness, man. It sucks, but we got to learn from it now that if we attack with the best effort and attitude right here that we got, we can't lose. We can't lose.
I'm sorry. Are you saying attack women that reject us?
That's what it sounds like to me.
Can I hear that again? I want to clarify that I think he says, "Oh, what are you going to do when a woman rejects you? Cry like a little baby?" No. You attack.
It sucks, but we got to learn from it now that if we attack with the best effort and attitude right here that we got, we can't lose. We can't lose.
This guy's Jordan Peterson. Oh, make your bed.
Are you crying? Well, yeah. Fuck that clip was.
Yeah, Coach HP's handling like more of a man than Jordan Peterson did. He said, "No, we attack. We are on the front lines of all the bitches who have rejected us." Now that gives me a little insight. Maybe a female turned him down. A female guest.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, Scarlett Johansson. Bitch. Jennifer Lawrence. Twat.
Now this is our last Coach HP clip, and this is the one that leaves us with the most questions, I think.
Yeah, so what happens next for Coach HP? Because he has not posted in, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that?
2 weeks, at least.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what happens next for Coach HP, but this is all we've got to go on.
The big news today is that I'm quitting that. I'm still attacking. I'm still going to be the most positive.
Those poor women.
Have you ever heard of Columbine? I will make that look like a playground.
There's no shot we're getting monetized this episode, by the way.
Oh, call Alex Jones because Sandy Hook will look fake when I get done.
That was bad when I said the T word.
Well, yours was hate. Mine was a character.
It wasn't hate. It was a word that was commonly used until like 2 minutes ago.
Wow.
If you thought Stephen Paddock was positive, just wait.
I'm going to shoot over Blind Mike's mom's head soon.
Yeah, was that the whole clip? Sorry.
I don't know. I started over.
Okay.
That. Still attacking. I'm still going to be the most positive person on the internet. I'm still making moves.
Sound it.
But yeah, that's it. I'm quitting chasing after people. I got one person left that promised me something with a book that he has coming out, with a kid's book that are coming out, that I promised I would help him. I'm going to do my part in that. And after that, I'm publicly, so you guys know, putting all this Coach HP stuff and everything that I do on a daily basis and people that I help out with in this stuff in God's hand. And if people want to see me,
in God's hands. Oh no, this sounds it sounds like if whoever this guest is doesn't follow through, Joe Rogan is going to be in the trunk of this man's car. Spotify, you will meet my demands.
They call me Hector Pumpkin.
Can someone please make I don't have the skills to do it, obviously, but Hackrider, someone with the capability. Can someone make the Stan music video, but with Coach HP and Joe Rogan?
He's like, I got a haircut just like yours.
people want to find me to help them and it works out, I'll do it. And if people promise me they're going to come on my show and they don't, that's on them.
The price.
That's on them.
That's on them. That's for you to live with. Anyways, I am the most positive man on the internet, and you will die if you cross me. All right, folks. Coach HP, the world's most positive man, signing off. And remember, keep your head on a swivel. Because you never know. That pitter-patter could be me.
Pitter-patter.
Sneaking up behind you for having wronged me.
Pitter-patter, let's get at her.
Stay positive, avoid public areas.
Turn that frown upside down and do not leave your homes if you don't want to get filled with lead.
Goes up to Brendan Schaub because he did a show. He's like, maybe stay home today.
He texts David Lucas, "There's trouble brewing."
Don't come to class.
Well,
Unless you
Coach
want it to
HP,
be-
please. Sorry, David. What was that?
Well, unless you want it to be kill David, maybe skip a week.
Oh, he's definitely going to the mothership first.
That's his Columbine.
Yeah, he's absolutely taking out the mothership.
He's throwing pipe bombs behind Mincy's bar.
Gonna repaint that table, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, so everyone in Austin, be safe, and Coach HP, if you're watching this, don't do anything too drastic. Stay positive, buddy. And what we'll do, you can get David Collins on, me, Craig, right? We'll all do a show.
Come on here. Come
Yeah.
hang. Well,
Right,
people
Coach
see
HP.
us.
Check the return policy on all those weapons.
Yeah,
There
stand
usually-
down, Coach.
There isn't one, and as soon as that sales final, so he's just kind of got to do it.
He's got nothing but time to think about it.
Get your Coach HP defense weapons.
Well, I hope Coach HP doesn't do anything too drastic.
Did that guest with the children's book come out? Did they record it in a bunker?
I just imagine Coach HP chasing one of these people down, and someone has like an AI recording of Joe Rogan talking to him that they throw into the woods, and he just gets diverted to that.
Is this real? Is that you, Joe? Hey, that's the thing we haven't looked at. AI could save the world. If you just have fucking generated Dana White talk to this guy, it could save a lot of lives, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
These motherfuckers.
What is your heart out, Dave? What time? David, sorry.
3:30, right?
Right. Oh, we have about 40 minutes here.
Yeah, so what do you think we have time for, Craig? What's left? on
Well, I
our
think we can get
agenda?
through everything, but I would say let's go to Pete first, just in case he needs to leave.
Oh,
Yes.
is Pete Davidson back in the news?
No. A much funnier Pete, Dave.
Yes.
A guy that gets much bigger laughs on stage. So I don't know how far back you go with this show, David, but you probably don't remember us talking about a gentleman named Peet Guercio. It was about a year ago. We talked about this guy who's got well over 1 million followers on TikTok. He's pretty big on TikTok. And his account is these stand-up bits that are all seemingly very cheesy.
It might have been
But
the
he
best
built up a hu-
observation I ever made.
He built up a huge following, though, and it seems like the crowd is crushing. Like, he's crushing with the crowd, I should say.
Right.
By the way, Mike, I got to say, it's even more obvious than normal. He got rusty in his time off.
You think so?
There's cuts and cuts and cuts in these videos, and the laughs do not cut with it.
Well, here's the problem we found last time, David, is these videos got a massive reaction, massive applause.
Positive.
It sounded like it could have been sweetened, perhaps, the laughter. But the other thing we noticed is they were all filmed in the same location, which was a little odd based on the amount of videos he had posted. And it was exposed by Dan Soder on the bonfire before he left the program. They realized that Peet Guercio was making these videos from his home with no audience
in a green
and pretending he was at a club killing.
Oh, even from his home, because this is easy. You know, Jerry and I actually tried to prank Austin Ingalls a few weeks ago. We had a clip of his, and we had beefed up the laughter to maybe a slightly exaggerated amount where you might notice, but we hoped that we could get it by him, and then he might post the clip, and then people would call him out for exaggerated laughter, and it was a good prank. Unfortunately, he did not post the clip. I think he was on to us.
Austin Ingalls is a smart cookie. There's not much get by him.
Right.
Can't hear the laughter over all that ice.
Yeah, he will. He has been known, David. I don't know if you know this. Austin Ingalls has been known to shake his ice right into the microphone of a podcast,
Which is very odd because he's not much of a drinker.
It was disrespectful. It was almost like he was purposely waiting, like he just got an icy drink just to insult me.
It was a nice coffee, and it was almost like we were bothering him.
Yeah.
So let's go to this Peet Guercio clip number 1 here.
All right. So I was excited. So I was on TikTok, and boy, does my algorithm know me. because I popped in, and the first video I see, I thought, oh my God. He's back.
Every single one of us does the exact same thing when somebody asks us to switch seats with them on an airplane. First, you go.
Hold on, David. David, I think you're this guy's crowd. I think it fits right in because you hear the laughter when you don't even really know where he's going. But both David and the audience are right on the same page here.
I love an airplane joke.
Sure.
I love a laugh at the most overdone setup in the world.
Let's hear it again. I didn't quite catch it.
Every single one of us does the exact same thing when somebody asks us to switch seats with them on an airplane. First,
hold on. But here you are. We're going to stop these a lot. I apologize. But you already get a sense of what I'm talking about, even if you didn't hear us talk about this last year, where that gets a laugh. It's like, hey, everyone has the same reaction when he has to switch seats on an airplane. Oh, Pete. It's like there's no joke yet. This is the premise.
I just like knowing that right off to the right of this screen is just a pile of like Amazon packages. Like
just his couch with a messy blanket on it.
He's in his socks right now.
you go, sure, no problem. And then you silently hate and judge them for the entire flight.
Yes, Pete!
So there was that joke crushed.
Go back a little because you got to hear how hard this is crushing in his living room.
Flight.
Oh, I didn't go back.
Silently hate and judge them for the entire flight. Just stare a hole through the back of their head from your middle seat by the bathroom like, yeah, Economy Plus is pretty cozy, isn't it, you dick?
People are losing their minds. This is Def Jam.
By the way.
Cool.
Hold on, I want to hear that last tag. I want to hear that in a second. But
and then he walks off stage.
He's just going to his kitchen.
So I guess what I've heard a follow-up on this where, like, I guess someone asked Peet Guercio about this, and he said, like, yeah, that's what you have to do now to build a following. And it's like, no, I think what you're getting confused with is, like, if you want to use Matt Rife as the example, he's talking to human beings, at least. You know? Yeah. You can argue how good the crowd work is or whatever. He's talking to people. But these are the most, like, banal points ever. It's like, oh goodness, we don't like to do that. We don't like to switch seats on an airplane. And people are like, oh my God! Oh, yes!
I was thinking it and he said it.
Finally! Someone I can relate to!
Thank God someone was standing in front of their own oven and told me this.
Guercio! He also has the greatest Seinfeld name, by the way. Like, I could see Elaine dating like a Peet Guercio.
Yeah, exactly.
Seat by the bathroom, like, yeah, Economy Plus is pretty cozy, isn't it, you dick?
I can picture that dick. Yes, Pete.
Cool wife, by the way.
Well, you could have sat next to the cool wife, Pete. I'm not sure. This is an odd premise. I've also never heard a joke where I think to myself, wow, is that public domain?
Hold on. I want to give that one a fair shake because this is one of the... this is a good one. So I want to play that from the beginning and see if we can like just dissect the joke. Because I was more focused on the applause and hilarity that ensues after he tells the joke. But I'd like to hear the joke.
Too bad you can't drink in the facial expressions this guy makes the whole time. It's painful.
Well, you can hear it in his voice where he's like, am I right, people? Like,
you nailed it.
Yeah, you did a great impression.
What the heck?
You nailed it.
Every single one of us does the exact same thing when somebody asks us to switch seats with them on an airplane.
I know where he's going.
First, you go, sure, no problem. And then you silently hate and judge them for the entire flight. Just stare a hole through the back of their head from your middle seat by the bathroom like, yeah, Economy Plus is pretty cozy, isn't it, you dick? Cool wife, by the way.
I don't get the cool wife part.
Oh, I didn't get the whole thing. I'm stunned that that's the only part you hung up on.
Well, I mean, we've all been there, right? When someone asks you to switch seats and you say yes, and inside you're like, I'm gonna fucking brain this guy. you motherfucker. But that's the thing. Peet Guercio, his topics are so relatable that people start laughing. But they're like, "I know where he's going." Yes.
We're about to get Guercio'd.
This is, another annoying thing about his name. David, how would you spell Pete?
Well, of course, P-E-T-E.
Of course, you say. How silly.
Well, it's short for Peter.
P-E-E-T. He spells it with the 2 E's in the middle. It's very annoying. I see that doesn't wow you. All right, let's move on.
What is it short for? Peatable?
I don't know. I know what Craig's is short for, but
hey.
Thank you, David.
All right, here's clip 2.
Okay, let's hear this.
Bad background for him too. Looks like a woman. No
That's
offense.
funny, too.
And that's fine too. If I don't want to actually assume anything. That is very dangerous these days. But if he's not trying to, is he going by Pete? Well, I guess the spelling, maybe it's still up in the air.
Look at the three of us. The three of us just being offensive at different times.
Open to interpretation. Now I need the help of you guys though, sighted folk.
Yep.
Do we think this is the same situation as last year? Clearly, the laughter is on par. The same people happen to be in the audience, laughing at the same volume. But does it look like we're back in his house still?
Yep. So the first two are the same outfit and same background. The next two after this one are different outfit, different background, I believe.
Okay, interesting. So either he's changing clubs or putting a different fucking what are those things called? The step and repeats.
Yeah, no. The next one, he's in Milwaukee in his hotel room.
Okay, good.
If somebody offers you a food that you don't like, all you have to do is
hold on already. You know what I like already? The laughter from the last hilarious bit is still dying down.
It's still dying, yeah.
He knows when to come in.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of Guercio.
I really need to know what he said before this. I have to go see him.
Yes, all right. So people are trying. For the love of God, people, simmer down, will you? Pete is rolling.
If somebody offers you a food that you don't like, all you have to do is tell them that you just finished eating a ton of that exact same food.
Yes!
Oh, I just had a huge breakfast of spicy Moroccan lentil soup. Oh, no.
He walked off the exact same way as the last one.
Boy, this guy's got a lot of closers.
It's like Steph Curry when he knows the ball's going and he just walks away.
Steph Curry, you don't even know what you just said there.
Curry, I gotcha.
Thank you, Radio City. He just walks off. That was a good Curry joke, David. That took me a second.
Well, it was his punchline. It was Pete's punchline. Maybe that's a good tag.
It's true. It is true.
We got to hear that one again, though. I'm sorry. Because we're going to play these a couple times because it's much shorter. Yet the people are just saying, now, this is a very relatable problem. You know how you can't just say to someone, oh, no, I'm not a big fan of that? We've all been there.
If somebody offers you a food that you don't like, all you have to do is tell them that you just finished eating a ton of that exact same food. Oh, I just had a huge breakfast of spicy Moroccan lentil soup. Oh, no.
Ugh.
Can I tell you what's
cut out the?
Sorry,
There's a
David, go
cut. It's just he cuts. Did he cut out more of the setup and joke or did he cut out the laughter so that he could finish the joke?
No, the laughter didn't get cut. I don't know if you heard it. It was very fluid.
The laughter was pristine, which is actually what I was going to say too. Is it's interesting because his mic for some reason is worse than it was last year. He's at a different club, I suppose. But the mic is there's a little echoiness to it. It's not quite as good. Yet the crowd is mic'd perfectly.
So pristine.
Their quality is crystal clear. I've never heard anything that good for some reason. And it's different. The mic is picking it up differently than they're picking up Pete for whatever reason.
You want to hear this one more time or are you ready to move on?
I think I'm ready to move on.
Are you?
Why, you want to hear it again?
No.
All right, no, I'm ready.
Okay. Next, we have a back-to-back. These are both about Amazon, so buckle up. Relatable.
Pete Guercio loves Amazon.
Sure does.
because he knows it's relatable. I mean, hey, we've all ordered a package from Amazon. I mean, who among us, right?
He's not even. Well, he's not even leaving his apartment to get on stage. I can't imagine he leaves his apartment to do much else.
Right. Yeah, no, he relies on Amazon. That's a good point, David. He's writing very relatable material here.
Sometimes I order so many things from Amazon that when they arrive, I completely forgot what I ordered. It's like throwing myself a surprise birthday party. I open each one like, ooh, what could it be? A fuzzy pop socket I shouldn't have.
Oh, I forgot. Start over. I'm sorry.
He's
I
definitely
forgot to give this one a proper setup. Can you tell who he's doing?
Isn't this somebody? I've heard that joke. No.
Oh, I don't know about the joke, but the delivery is completely Mulaney.
Yes.
It's interesting to take a year off and come back imitating someone else. It doesn't matter why.
Exactly.
You know how you talk to your grandma? Sorry, David. What was that?
That was Pete. You interrupted.
Oh, geez, Pete.
So many things from Amazon that when they arrive, I completely forgot what I ordered. It's like throwing myself a surprise birthday party. I open each one like, ooh, what could it be? A fuzzy pop socket I shouldn't have. A dinosaur onesie. What am I, the best? 20 pounds of mac and cheese. Thanks, me from 2 days ago.
You from 2 days ago was so crazy, Pete.
I can't. The facials in this one are the worst.
Come on, guys.
The worst.
He is
What the
right.
heck?
2 pounds of mac and cheese is pretty outrageous.
I mean, yeah, right. I mean, you know how you just forget things in 2 days. You know how on Wednesday we all ordered 2 pounds of mac and cheese, but by Friday, who needs it? The angle would be like if you were drunk, right? Who just soberly orders items and in 2 days is like, I didn't need this.
Was it 2 pounds? Because that's not an absurd amount of pasta.
Especially for an Italian.
Yeah.
That's true, Guercio.
That's right.
But yeah, he is doing. There's this weird like Mulaney delivery he's doing, and again, John Mulaney I think is a comedic genius. I'm not comparing the two's material, but like in cadence, he's like he's kind of riding on that, where he's like, oh, aren't I the best? Thanks me.
It's exactly what he. Ugh, I hate everything about this guy.
I love it.
We have Amazon again.
Oh, good. Let's hear more about
our final
Mr. Bezos.
Guercio clip. Unfortunately,
It's sad. It's sad that we can't celebrate him longer, but he's only posted these 4 videos. I hope he stays around longer than he did last time we found him.
Has Amazon ever been late delivering you a package? They act like the world is going to explode. If they're 10 minutes outside the delivery window, they hit you up like, we're so sorry, here's a gift card for $3 million. Any other...
Yeah! They've done that to me, Pete!
I just need to point this out for the blind people potentially here. A pop-up just happened. It's a really small one. It says, DM me for a show at your college.
There's a chance this guy's just Vince Champ or something.
And his shirt says college university, David.
Oh, that's fun.
Right, and I'm very confused about that. I like that little plug though. He's Dane Frozen Dinner.
Dane. All right.
That's pretty good, David. Dane Frozen Dinner.
Write that one down. That's probably gonna be the name of this episode.
What a face here. Good stop.
Can I guess? I can't see it. Can I take a guess at what the face is saying, basically?
Yep.
Am I right, guys?
No, it's more like fuck. I'm listening to myself.
Oh, okay. Damn.
The last video was all "Am I right, guys?" the whole time.
Sorry, here's a gift card for $3 million. Any other company is like a week late, and if you call them, they're like, just relax. We'll deliver it when we deliver it, okay? You get your package when you get your package.
Whoa, he's doing accents now.
What planet is that gonna get remotely a laugh that loud?
Craig, open your ear, rewind a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't know if you hear this guy, David. It sounds like his fucking ears aren't working. We got a blind guy and a deaf guy in the show.
Wow.
Yeah, you're right, asshole. There's no fucking laughs. Play it again, dick.
Must make me the beast.
Just relax. We'll deliver it when we deliver it, okay? You get your package when you get
You
your
might not be used to it, Craig, but that's laughter you hear in the background. You horse's ass.
It's a great point. You make a great point.
He's crushing, but by the way, what sounds like an arena full of people.
So I was going to say that. I was like, the last one sounds like he was at a club. This is more the theater.
Yeah. No, this is this is the Beacon. Well, it's sad. We shot our wad pretty quickly. That's all we got for Guercio, huh?
That's all we got for Guercio.
What
All
a
right,
great!
well-
I'd love to see a psychological thriller of somebody who is stuck in their apartment and doing stand-up comedy.
Yeah, it came out as a special a couple years ago called Inside.
Hey, it was very good.
Fascinating.
It's very different. Craig doesn't get it. Whatever. But yeah, Peet Guercio is a fascinating character. I hope he keeps posting. What else? Do we have anything else before we get David out of here? For goodness sake! By the way, guys, go subscribe David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show wherever you get podcast. Wherever you're listening to this podcast, go listen to David's. It's very entertaining.
Well, everybody should enjoy the show. And I'm really looking forward to, of course, we have the reality show and everything, but this next correspondent competition, I'd love to get that started too. Some on-the-street things. We're looking forward to Floodwater in May, which is a comedy festival in Iowa City. So, that on-the-street thing should be something to probably look forward to the YouTube and the Instagram.
It's very exciting. Go subscribe. David Collins Show. What else do we have before we get David out of here?
We only have a couple things. 2 Ty Rivera clips and an Opie clip.
Oh, that's right. All right. Real quick, David, we'll fly through these real quick. But the Opester, you're a fan of the Opester, right?
I'm a big fan.
So Opie, we've talked about Opie for some time. And really what we got focused on was last year he said to Anthony posted a picture. I have to set this up every time because it fascinates me. Anthony posted a video, not a picture, a video of a guy that looks like Opie and kind of made it seem like he ran into Opie. That's how much this guy looked like Opie that everyone saw the video and was like, holy shit, you should go up and talk to him. Kind of a funny moment. Opie, for whatever reason, made a response where he was furious and told Anthony to go fuck himself and said, you stay away from me and I'll stay away from you. And that was the deal they made. You stop talking about me, I stop talking about you. That's what Opie said. And since then, Anthony has pretty much stopped talking about Opie, and Opie has posted about Anthony seemingly every day for the last year.
Yes.
And this is the latest example. So, I came across an hour-long episode of the Opie Radio podcast. I believe it was recorded at Gepard's, his favorite watering hole. They recorded. This podcast was exactly 1 hour. It was 1 hour, 0 minutes, and a few seconds. So the episode is titled Opie and Anthony Reunion. Opie and Anthony 10-year reunion, I believe is the title. And I thought, oh, wow. I'm sure there's nothing here, but at least Opie is going to talk a lot of shit about Anthony. That's what I assumed about the episode.
What a tease of a title. That should pull in the clicks.
That's exactly right, David. Now, we title our episodes, basically what we talk about in the show. If you're on YouTube, if it's on Spotify or Apple, it's something wacky that Craig chooses. But if you're on YouTube, we title, like this episode will probably be titled something like Marc Maron versus Rogan and Chappelle, Howie Mandel on Redbar, stuff like that. The stuff we talked about, This episode was titled Opie and Anthony 10-year reunion. So what I have is the entirety, and we're going to have to stay quiet for a really long time.
The hour.
That's right. I have the entirety of Opie talking about the reunion with Anthony as the episode was titled. So this is everything from that podcast. So let's try and wait for this to be over because it's what the whole episode was about.
Excited for the O&A reunion on July 1st, 2024. It's been 10 years and I can't wait. Wow. I don't know about that.
I didn't hear about this.
No.
Do you have a venue booked?
No, we don't have anything booked. That would be it.
Imagine like 10 years after. I haven't seen Anthony in 10 years. Literally, I've not seen him. We haven't been in the same room in 10 years.
It's not true.
And also, we surprised everybody with something 10 years after the show broke up. That would be sick.
Yeah, well, you get to be like Simon A. Garfunkel in Central Park. Everybody's going to
Yeah. Central Park.
You got 100,000 here to watch it.
Central Park. What's that tiny little park on Broadway? I think we can fill that up. What's the name of it? It's no joke. It holds maybe 15 people. Oh, sweet baby Jesus! Any more rock trivia? I'm game. Let's go.
Hey, that clip was how long, Craig?
57 seconds, and I didn't really cut it at the beginning and end of. Could have been a little short.
You could argue that I left a little fat on there. But let's call it 57 seconds. That Opie titled the episode Opie and Anthony Reunion. And so if you go into that episode looking for an Opie and Anthony reunion, about a half hour in, you'll find someone go, "Hey, Opie, are you going to reunite with Anthony?" And him go, "Probably not," and then move on. And he titled the episode that. Like, it's sad to watch these guys cling on to something that just doesn't exist anymore. And Opie will yell at people in his chat. Like, people will be like, "Hey, you and Anthony should do something together." Or what do you think of what Anthony said? Whatever. And Opie will go, "It's so sad that people still hang on. Why can't I move on? God, I reinvented myself, okay?" And yet still everything is titled with Anthony's name, even if he talked about him for 57 seconds.
This is the episode title. And if you had to guess how many views that had on YouTube, what would you guess?
1,000?
Yep, 1,200.
Yeah. Oh, he's bumped up a bit in the last couple of days. That's good.
I'd like to think that commenter was just a stand. Did that comment also include a venue for July 3rd? It'd be great if he was just leaving a comment saying, "Oh, is the Opie and Anthony reunion on this date at this venue?" And it's just a show of his.
Yeah, that's true. That's good self-promotion, I guess. But yeah, like Opie and Anthony probably aren't going to reunite. By the way, I heard you say that Opie was lying there, but he's not. They haven't seen each other in 10 years.
So after all this happened for a while, I don't remember exactly when, but Opie almost went to Compound after he left Sirius and was in the studio. It has pictures of him sitting in Anthony's studio.
Well, Anthony might not have been there, though.
Oh, yeah, actually, you're right. That could be true.
Yeah, probably is.
My fault. Sorry, Ope.
You know, it was interesting. I was scrolling Twitter last week, and I saw a big, I think it might have been one of those historic vids or something like that. And I don't even think it was that. I think it might have been a Crazy Clips, one of these big multi-million channels on Twitter showing that old clip of Opie and Anthony jumping on a cake and people reacting as if it was yesterday, and people in the comments saying, "Well, it says Sirius XM on the microphone. I hope we're getting this guy canceled." It was very interesting. It was very fun to see a clip 10 years old being reacted to as if it was yesterday.
That happens sometimes. For whatever reason, that clip pops up once in a while, and people are like, "Fuck this guy. We need to get him fired." Little do they know what he's become.
No shit. Oh, it happened.
Yeah, but yeah, the view thing too is like his episodes, even if he titles them with Anthony's name, get less views than our episodes.
Right.
And that's something where it's like, maybe I should sit back and take solace in that. It's like, even though I'm bigger than Opie at this point, it's kind of nice. But that's what's crazy is his channel has like 100,000 subscribers or something.
They all left.
But they're all still, that's what's crazy is like, maybe they all died. They're all still there, technically. But I don't know what happened. They're all bots or something.
Well, you've done a good job of curating the meat of that episode, I'd say, you know, not to diminish the value of fair use, but you may have taken away a viewer of his by just doing that.
Oh, well, I let the episode breathe for a little. It's been up for a few days, so I apologize, Opie, if I'm taking viewers away. But yeah, if you're going for the Opie and Anthony talk, you did just hear it all, to be fair.
Boy, that would be a great guest for you to interview.
The Opester?
Of course.
I think I tried to get him on once because people were talking. He's very finicky. He's not a great replier, so he's tough to book. But
I had Cardiff Electric on David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show because he was co-hosting for the Opie radio show. So do you have I guess he's kind of gone away from interacting with many people outside of that bar.
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't really interact with Cardiff much anymore. But yeah, I'll see what I can do because Opie would be a good guest. I'd be interested to talk to him. I think it would be a little different than Tom Myers. Because I don't think Opie would be as self-aware.
I'd love to hear some more of his impressions.
He still talks like he's got the biggest radio show in the country.
Right. Yeah. He talks like he. Well, here's the thing: is he never had the biggest radio show in the country.
Well, second,
and yet somehow he talks like he is. No, he was never. They were never close to the biggest radio show in the country. Like I like Opie and Anthony, but they were the second biggest comedy show ever. They weren't anywhere near the second biggest radio show ever. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of people on the list ahead. Like I mean, Mike and the Mad Dog, fucking Charlemagne the God is bigger than Opie and Anthony ever were on regular radio. Like fucking Rush Limbaugh. Like there's a bunch of people that were bigger than Opie and Anthony, and yet Opie thinks it's like Howard and then him. You know?
Yeah, he probably got me.
All right, should we talk about Ty Rivera real quick before we close up shop here?
Definitely.
I liked this. This is the Ty I've been looking for, and it's kind of like what we talked about with Howie Mandel. Is like, if you're honest, then say whatever the fuck you want. It's just like phony horse shit that I hate. Like when Ty was going on a couple weeks ago and just called Rebecca Trent a drug addict. Then it's like, okay, you're being a fucking fraud. When you're blaming Tony Hinchcliffe for people unaliving themselves, that's what's crazy, Ty. That's when you're getting a little nuts. This, I think Ty calmed down a little bit. And this guy is more relatable. And I can actually listen to this guy's shit talk because he seems like a human being.
There's a part of me that really does love Tony because, like I said, I met him when he first came to LA and he was just, he wasn't a kid, but he was younger than he is now, obviously. And he was trying to figure things out. And so there's a part of me that really does have a soft spot for Tony. But there's also a part of me that's watched him turn into something that I sometimes feel like it's that person that was bullied a lot when they were younger. And now they think the way to handle the fact that they found themselves in what you could call a position of power is to be a bully towards people that they consider to be less than them. And that was something that I could only ever get so bothered by because it wasn't something I was an actual recipient of. So,
see, like when he's talking rationally, I'm like, oh, you're actually kind of making some good points. You know?
You're not being like, I completely hate Tony. It's like, yeah, we know.
But yeah, like when you aren't trying to trick us with how evil Tony is, you can actually logically talk about some of his faults. And it's like, yeah, when you listen to Kill Tony now, there is a little bit of that. He thinks he's like God now when he shits on some of these people. So there is an element of that. Now, when you're saying he's at fault for someone killing themselves, that's where you get crazy, Ty. So I like this guy. This guy is a genuine shit talker that I can be like, okay, maybe there's some merit to what he's saying.
Yeah, when it comes to Tony, it was like he would sometimes be shitty with people. And that's kind of what I was addressing when I said what I said about the Nick Roche situation, because what I was saying on that I don't think a lot of people really got was that with these younger comics, and then when it comes to older comics like me and Tony, or comics that are more seasoned or have been around a little more, like, yeah, you can joke with them and you can shit on them a little bit, but in the end, you have to in some way let them know that you were just joking and tell them something positive, because a lot of them are in more vulnerable situations. And, things like this can happen where somebody is already feeling down about themselves. And then I don't think anybody pushes anybody over the edge, but there are things that we can do that definitely won't help.
Where's this reasonable man been this whole time?
He's finally come all the way down, I think.
Like, it's great to be a shock jock to get a few views, but like, this is a human being I could actually listen to talk about the goings on in Austin comedy, because he seems like a fucking person. He's not. And Ty, he's like, some people didn't get what I was saying about the Nick Roche situation. You said it was Tony's fault. We all got what you said. You said something horrible that people were like, okay, that's a little far,
Right.
Like you were kind of trying to be a shock jock of sorts. So this This Ty I like and could get behind. This guy seemed much more reasonable and didn't seem as bitter. It's kind of like the Maron thing we were talking about earlier. Like, if you just said Rogan takes himself too seriously and thinks he's smarter than he is, sure, perfectly valid criticism. If you say Joe Rogan is literally the reason for all of the country's problems, maybe that's a little more. Now we gotta, as Boogie would say, I gotta push back on you a little bit. You know,
Back a little bit.
we could have had the board do it, but I prefer your invitation, I guess.
Does this mean Ty's back working the mothership?
No, Ty is retired from comedy, apparently.
I see.
Which is odd that he complains so much about not being booked for a guy that's retired.
That's disgusting. That I didn't know that. So all those videos for nothing.
Yeah, he claims he's retired, and he's like, and the fucking, I'm banned from the mothership. It's like, well, so am I then, I guess. I can't work there either.
Now he can finally speak his mind.
Yes. Tony, by the way, when most people are watching this, tonight will be on the Tom Brady roast.
The Tom Brady roast is tonight?
Well, sure. Yes, Sunday, tonight.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Every Blind Mike project.
Right. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
I was thinking, see, my brain is with the patrons and the YouTube
good
members. Yeah.
The good people. I understand.
That's
That
right.
makes sense.
Where do you watch that? OnlyFans TV?
Netflix.
No, David. It's actually Patreon or YouTube. You can go to blindmike.net and find all of our links very easily there, including becoming a Patreon or YouTube member. You can find the links there at blindmike.net. So I'm glad you asked.
Well, I was referring to the roast of Tom Brady.
If you listen back, you'll hear me say Netflix.
Yes, it is on Netflix. Surprisingly, they really went football player heavy for some reason. Like instead of comics.
See, I think that'll be more interesting though.
Interesting, sure, if that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Funny, I question.
Well, you can expect many people that you know and love are behind the scenes doing the writing, but certainly
Right.
it's odd to watch a roast when it's people that you know have no relationship or doing the roasting.
That did you hear me on? I mentioned this on KMS today, but Andrew Schultz had a great point, despite what Marc Maron thinks about him. I know, it's crazy. But Andrew Schultz said Netflix is fucking up doing it live because all those Comedy Central roasts are like heavily produced and edited.
Yeah.
Netflix is going live, and Andrew Schultz said, "You're making football players read." might not be the smartest idea.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, that's a good. Like Gronk has to read live at this and be funny.
Do you know how much pussy me and Tom got? Like so much, dude. No one laughs.
It's gonna be tough. But yeah. Also, tonight, actually, if you're a patron tonight, Colin Quinn's special is up, and it looks pretty good. So I'm
Very
excited
excited for that. What did he do? It like he did like a surprise
A symposium, like a psychologist symposium or something like that.
Like they thought they were going to some sort of meeting, and he's just doing an hour. Is that what it
Which
was?
is very funny. That's kind of a funny twist.
I
to put
love
on it.
that. I love
that. David, anything to promote before we get out of here?
Well, I just came, wherever, if a new place to do a comedy special. Has anybody ever done a comedy special where they, I don't know what they call it, when you kill a prisoner in one of those rooms, and then there's a
Jesus.
whole auditorium for people to watch, and you could do stand-up comedy in that room? That'd be interesting.
Oh, like an execution chamber of some kind.
Right.
When like in the Green Mile after the Percy forgets to soak the
Yes.
sponge and the guy catches fire, and then David's up there just telling a few yucks.
I think that'd be fun. I like that.
That'd be
Or
great.
instead of a final meal, if you could request an opening act. Anyway,
think this guy
everybody here
killed?
knows my shows and all those things. I really have nothing to plug. I think everybody's going to run into my content very naturally.
Wow, awfully arrogant you're getting these days, David.
Well, it's been going pretty positively. Of course, you've been a hand, but it's people who watch the show. When I appeared on that WATP, that first episode got a big boost, but not a lot of those people carried on, which does let it's great to get in front of people, but you wonder, you hope that word of mouth is just going to do a better job.
Yeah, guys, go support David. I don't know what he was rambling about. I guess he likes Carl more than me, I guess was the point of that. But
I think we're in a bit of a back and forth right now, actually. He might actually be influenced the Ray DeVito thing. I'm not sure if he's pulling any strings.
Interesting.
Sounds like a Carl.
The last time he addressed me directly on one of his shows, he said, David, stop disrespecting me. And now every time I get brought up, he just says, oh, I love David Collins, and it moves right on. So I think that there might be some hard feelings somewhere.
Oh, interesting.
At the same time, I'm going to go see him on July 3rd, and I think we're going to record a show. So as long as that happens, there's really nothing substantial there.
You're going to see him on July 3rd? I thought you were coming out here on July 3rd.
He's on the way. Rochester is on the drive.
I don't know if that's true, but all right.
David's going to be 4 days too late. I could have got him on a showcase.
Damn it.
I know.
Yeah, David, you're going to be out here in Boston, right? Are we going to?
Right.
We should. The three of us should get together, do a podcast while you're here or something.
Well, whatever the case is, I'd love to get a nice meal. We're going to be recording, pieces of the reality show and doing things of that nature. I think we're going to do a show with Carl for WATP, and maybe we could do something with you guys also. But you've only stressed to me how busy you are that week, so it's difficult to kind of know what to look forward to.
What I said was
it's
the week of 4th of July is a little tough. Can be. David on his show, I heard David say this on David Collins' 30-minute half-hour show. He said, I reached out to Mike and said I'm going to be in Boston, and he stressed how busy he's going to be. It's not Christmas or anything, but I suppose that's fine.
It's Christmas around here, more or less.
Right. I talked to, Craig and I have been talking on the phone, actually, and I said to him, I forget you're in the 13 colonies there. You take it much more seriously.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. This is real America.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, you know what? You guys know where to find David. I guess I don't need to plug his. As long as Carl plugs him, he's fine.
Well, what's interesting,
he doesn't need this horse shit.
You just search David Collins Radio. There's somebody in the UK that I think I'm now beating in SEO.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll get those numbers up for David. Oh, and make sure you tell the rattlesnake to check his fucking emails, because there's a great correspondent waiting in the wings for him.
Right. We're just looking for that next step.
And yeah, go to blindmike.net, support this show wherever you get podcasts, because you all know who David Collins is, but you don't support me enough. So make sure you subscribe, every single one of you. And we appreciate you guys. Go to verygoodshow.org. You can support Craig. And if you want to hear some of the language you heard on today's program, that was only the tip of the iceberg.
Now.
Go to verygoodshow.org and go behind that paywall. My God, the words they say.
That's right.
And the things they talk about, the things they do to young people. Jesus.
That's not true.
Anyways,
rubbed in now.
And support Hackride also, hackridethedemon.com. Go check out all of his hijinks, him and DJ Electra. I think Hackride's producing next week because Craig will be away.
That is true.
So the return of Hackride. He's been very quiet lately. I don't know. I always think he's mad at me or something.
I feel like he's upset. Like he's so quiet. Something.
But why? What have we done to him?
I don't know. I think I don't know. Something about Gearbox possibly. I don't fucking know.
But he can do that as long as he wants.
I enjoyed it. I watched it every time.
There you go.
I was also tuning in.
There you go.
That's 2 out of 3 right there.
Well, it's good stuff. No, he may have been mad at me for not watching it, but I don't like hearing any. You heard me with the fucking clip Lewis was playing. I don't want to hear anything about myself ever. Like I'm my least favorite entertainer.
Well, if you just watch the first hour, you may avoid that.
Oh, it takes an hour to get into this show?
Yes.
Okay, well that's good. Interesting. What's the first hour about then?
Like he's like, man, today's gonna be so good.
The first one, I watched the first one, the first hour, and it was all him and Carl talking about how terrible I am.
See, that was interesting.
You're not the only one who has a show where people love the banter.
I suppose that's true.
Banter was good.
But he'll be here to explain himself next week. David, if you want to come back next week, you're more than welcome. Next we're back on our normal day. No obligation, but you're more than welcome. Mull it over.
Well, I'd like to hope that I'll be recording with Ray DeVito that day, but who really knows?
All right. Well, if you're interested, feel free to let me know. Otherwise,
boy, these gearheads out there, if you really would care for, I have a few people that you could reach out to on my behalf, and you've heard it today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go support David Collins. He's the man. He's part of the family here. And that's it. We will talk to you guys next time. See you later.
And we have a meme transition.
Hey, it's Boogie.
Sappers clear the way. Everyone all the way.
Now, this is very interesting. Now, really, ladies, if you're listening, and men,
and everybody in between.
If I tell you you've got a homicide, buddy, you've got a homicide.
I hope to hear from you soon.
I am proud to own the Trumpy Bear, and I will always be proud to be an American.
Until then, have yourself a great day, and as always, rock on.
Stop the baloney, huh?
What kind of statement is that?
I wrote it. One of my favorite players to cover when he was here was Mike Vrabel. Tell me Mike Vrabel's story.
Whatever, dude. I keep it cool at the gym.
Piss on it.
Fuck you, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. All right.
Stop, my belly hurts.
My dad was in the military.
Was that, sir?
Can you please kindly F off, please?
If a person is on a bridge threatening to jump, how do we know that he wants help?
Anyway, God bless America.